What's good, YouTube? It's your boy vexyz, the lurking legend, but y'all could just call me Vex, and we are the Eternal Dawn. Welcome in. If you're new here, please make sure to like the stream and subscribe to the new channel. It would mean so much to us. And if you can't tell by the title of the stream and the thumbnail, we are going to be talking about our favorite villains in all of anime and manga. We've got the usual suspects here, some of the goats, which I'll go ahead and introduce here in just a second. But again, we want to make sure you guys check out all the links in the description and support all of us on all of our platforms. The whole cruise stuff is there. And then if you wanted to be a part of the discussion, even after streams, we have the link to the Discord, which hop in there and we can talk about all this stuff. Obviously we talk about One Piece a lot today. We're going to be talking about a lot of other anime and manga as well. We'll be sure to give a little bit of spoiler warnings or for our little brief bits that we do cover of all the other content, but we're gonna be talking about a whole lot of stuff today. And now I'm gonna go ahead and intro. We've got the historian of the Eternal Dawn himself. We have first mate, right? Kube of the Red Sea. How you doing today, brother?
Hey man, listen, I am so happy. It's such a great stream, and the difference, it's a new sunrise. And as we say, a new sunrise is a new day for some new fiery content, and it's gonna be fun talking about our favorite villains. So yeah, I'm excited.
Hell yeah, absolutely. And like again, to go over briefly, like we're gonna be very conscious of spoilers, and we're probably just gonna try to sell you on the show. And not try to spoil you on the show. So talking about some of these villains, we're not going to be giving away any like central plot points, hopefully. And if we have any like heavy spoiler moments, we'll be sure to speak up about those beforehand. Next up, though, we have the musician of the Eternal Dawn himself. We have Joshua Vykthor. How you doing today, brother?
Yo, I'm good. I'm ready to talk about my favorite villains in all of anime and manga.
Hell yeah, brother. Yeah, we're on our villain arc today. Like, absolutely. And I am that boy Vex. Like I said in the intro, I do my own One Piece D&D content. You can catch me over on my channel, link in the description, and you can hop in my Discord server. I'll be doing a watch party tonight for some Dimension 20/Dropout. It's gonna be the second to last episode of Never Stop Blowing Up. It's always a good time. I am the head cook here on the Eternal Dawn. But next up, last but not least, for the folks that are joining us right away, is the captain of the Eternal Dawn himself, one of my absolute best friends. I love him like a brother, and you should definitely go check out his channel as well, also linked in the description. We have Straw Hat Lucas. What's good, bro?
I'm doing really good. Yes, like Vex said, go check out my channel, link in the description, because I'm dropping a very spicy Thriller Bark video tomorrow. I got 3 little theories that I cooked up kind of in there, so I hope everybody goes and checks it out. But more importantly, like the stream, sub the new channel. The Dawn is coming, and we are here to guide all of you to it. As Vex said, last but not least, but it seems we've been joined by another, so I'm just going to segue right into him. It is the vice captain of the Eternal Dawn, Mr. NoChillDill. How you doing today, Dill?
Doing pretty good. I was out running a little bit of things, but I might have to do that more in a little bit. So
yes, sir.
I'm looking forward to the stream, though.
Vex, you want to break down how we're doing this real quick?
Yes, give me just a second while I get Dill visible to the chat. There we go.
Well, okay.
Now they can see him. I was struggling my eyes are not working right now, but yeah, we're gonna be going around in a bit of a campfire rotation here, each spitting one villain at a time and then passing the baton on to the next person. We're going to be going over just what we love about them, but trying to remain as spoiler free for the content as possible, as some of us here in the call have not read Naruto. That's right, I'm looking at you, Lucas, and some of us have not read some of the other series that are favorites, and we don't want anybody in the chat to be too worried about spoilers either. If there's a villain that we like for a specific reason, we want to try to sell you on the show, not spoil you on the show, like I just said. So We are each going to list off, I think so most of us have brought about 10 names to the table, but there's a chance that we might have overlap on our lists, in which case, whenever most people have ranked them from like least favorite to most favorite, and we'll be kind of going up in hype levels as we get towards the end of the stream. So make sure you stick around for some of the absolute like hottest takes. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm super, super, super excited. Who would like to start us off is the question, though.
I mean, okay, I'll start because mine is a fun twist. So for the number 10, for me is like my original villain. And you might hate me because it might sound like there's 3 names, but even though it's 3 people, they're 1 unit. And that is Jesse, James, and Meowth from Pokemon.
No
I turned the
No
furthest, so I put
way.
them as 1.
That's
Team Rocket,
crazy.
okay. I see
Rocket.
the vision there, Cube. I see the vision
Yeah.
there.
And I would like to keep it. That's why I also named them the 3 of them, because for years, Meowth was out of the intro because they made it double, not made it triple. So I wanted to give him his shine as well. You know, he deserves
Yeah,
to be
of course.
recognized in the group.
Yeah, but
Animal
you
rights.
left out Victory Bell, you left out Wobbuffet. I mean, those are all integral pieces of Team
Oh yeah,
Rocket.
no, dude, they're the Grand Fleet. They're the Grand Fleet.
Oh, okay.
They're the Grand Fleet. But yeah, honestly, for me, it's because they're iconic. Like we've all grown up as them as villains. So yeah.
Yo, shout out Star Knight Andy Lex of the Nothing Happened podcast, and of course the Star Knight Andy Lex channel in the chat. That is one of the goats right there, one of our Grand Fleet, one of our Nakama for life.
Yeah.
United.
Call him Pandy Licks. Is that fire video he just dropped on Panda Man?
Yes, sir. That was one of the best Panda Man theories I've ever seen, Andy. If anyone hasn't gone and check it out, make sure you do after the stream.
Absolutely. But yeah, I respect the Team Rocket take. I don't think we're spoiling anybody here in saying that you know, I don't like they are iconic, you know, when it comes to like anime villains from back in the day. Absolutely iconic. Yeah.
Can we all agree though that for a lot of us, I don't know so much about Josh because he is a bit younger, but like that was like one of our first crushes.
Yeah,
Jesse.
Meow.
There's no laws against the Pokemon, Batman.
I was gonna say coughing. Am I right? Like no, wild. I don't know. Like it's they're like so ingrained into. I mean, like I think that like you could even go so far as to say all of Team Rocket as a whole, like Giovanni and Butch and Cassidy and Raticate and like all that. Like I don't know, like you know what I mean? Like the whole organization. Like I was more into the handheld like stuff. So like they were like a full on like they were taken a little bit more seriously in like Red and Blue and Yellow, and then the remakes for the first gen games and stuff like that. But in the anime, is so ridiculously iconic. But like Team Rocket as a whole, it's such a great pick. You know?
Like, just to go on how iconic they are. When Luffy threw Mars off of Egghead, everyone was like, he just blasted them off again. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. That was a good take, Cube. That's dope. That's a good one.
Started off with heat, absolutely, as Cube always does in these streams. But yeah, I really like it. Anything else that you wanted to say about them specifically, or that anybody else had to say about Team Rocket?
I mean, no, I think they're so iconic. Like, you know, it's just, you know, it's just, you know, stroking their ego by just, you know, saying how iconic they are. I think it's one of those villains, maybe nostalgia, but it's like, it's very hard to criticize. You know what I mean? Like, you can at least respect someone who likes them as villains. Because I can see it, why. So yeah.
Hey, Brandon King in the chat. Let's go.
Shout out to the Time Lord.
Let's go. The Time Lord.
Brandion.
But I think that like it speaks to how iconic they are, just the sheer amount of individuals across multiple generations that are able to like recite the like duet. You know, it's like the you know, prepare for trouble and make it double. You know, like it's
To
such
protect the
a
world from
Yeah.
devastation.
Yeah.
To unite all people within our nation.
yep.
Like
Yep.
everyone knows it.
Pop off, King. But yeah, I think that it's actually crazy how many like kids were like trying to be on their villain arc when I was in like grade school, and like we're like teaming up and bullying kids like lightheartedly, you know, on the playground, and like saying that shit, and everyone like it was actually crazy. Like if you weren't trying to go Super Saiyan, you were on that like Team Rocket timing, you know, back in like the playground and like third grade days, you know, like I don't, it was like, it was integral, you know, it was like a must
Back
have.
in my uncle works at Nintendo days.
Yeah, I swear you could find Mew underneath the truck, you know, like
Yeah, you have to cut all 4 tires and then use strength to push it out of the way.
oh my goodness. Yeah, it was that they were absolutely really solid pick, huge. So going off of the rotation that we had, we'll go clockwise from the avatars that I have on stream here for the chat, which brings us from Kube of the Red Sea to the Straw Hat Lucas, who's your number 10.
Yeah, spoiler warning already, guys. I'm not gonna spoil anything. My number 10 though is Shigaraki from My Hero Academia.
Oof.
Yeah, I love Shigaraki. I think he's one of the best written shonen villains of all time. I was not the happiest with how things went for him in the later half of the story. I'm not going to get into that because I don't want to ruin it for anybody. But yeah, I think that Shigaraki had the potential to be like the number 1 shonen villain of all time.
I think that, yeah, it's a story that's written about heroes and villains, you know, and honestly, one of the craziest things about the story is like when the villains themselves get an entire training arc, and you get to see like a lot of the interactions and inner workings that go into exactly like, but seeing like the whole League of Villains, and like it's such an iconic intellectual property. We are literally like the layout of this stream, we're literally chilling in their hideout right now. Like Kuragiri pouring us up drinks. Like it's literally like the backdrop that we're all our little PNG avatars are popping up on right now. It's like that iconic, and homie was literally the most pivotal. Not my favorite.
Where the anime is right now.
I fell off on it as well. Like after like season 4, it was just diminishing returns for me, but I have seen enough to know. I've seen a little bit past that as well, but like that's where I really fell off. Like it began to fell off, but I have seen more than enough to know that Shigaraki is one of the most plot relevant members of the League of Villains, and it gets insane.
Without getting into spoilers, without getting into spoilers, I'm going to say this: Horikoshi, the mangaka of My Hero Academia. I hope that one thing future mangakas take away from his style and his writing is how he wrote his villain. It is so well written. It is so well done, and it is such a fun experience to get to delve into his mind and to get into delve into his past and the way he is and why he is the way he is.
For someone who's not up to date in My Hero, but I've always said the villain part is what's, I mean, the heroes is interesting, but that twist they did with the villains, they're getting really to understand the villains. The only time I felt that, and it was when I was a kid, and it's very funny because I think he's the only one who's done it. I mean, you could say that Kishimoto and Oda does it good, but I think that person did it differently, and it was Akira Toriyama with villains like Frieza and Cell, or to understand, or Babidi, to understand their motivation, like. Or even think of King Piccolo, like you really understand those villains, and I feel like My Hero is the same thing. Like you think of all the League of, after 1.5 seasons of the League of Villains, you kind of sense which one. Some of them were purists, some of them were posers, and but you get the vibe that they're just villains. They're not just villains to be villains. They're like the Joker from Gotham City. He's a creation of his environment. They're creation of their environment.
Exactly. It's the nurture versus nature argument. How much of the reason why Shigaraki does what he does is his nurture, what happened because of his nurturing, and how much of it was just in his nature.
Yeah, and then you have Toga. Toga is such an interesting villain. I've said that when you get her snippet of her backstory in season 5, season 6.
I think that specifically though, I just like, not only do we get to understand like the backstory and everything once you get a couple seasons in for Shigaraki, and it's like it is definitely a little bit of a slower burn at first, but right out of the gate, like one of the first like instances where they're introduced as like kind of like a foil to Deku is like, this is gonna be light spoilers, but when you see like them at the mall and Homie
Yes,
is
sir.
like literally like as close as he can get to like gripped up, and like we understand what his power is, and we're just like, this, oh dude, the whole show could have ended right there.
All of his
Whole
fingers,
manga,
all of
yeah.
his fingers on Deku's neck, except for one. And if all he has to do is lower that finger, and Deku's
It was
gone. Like,
that was such a
so good.
menacing moment, and from that point on I was just like, wow. like
Yeah.
absolutely wow. Again, won't
Mhm.
speak on the ending because I personally fell off before we got to that point, but I do know like kind of how it all goes down. But a really solid overarching villain throughout like the full tenure of like a pretty long shonen IP. So good pick, really solid
Yeah.
pick. We put him on the thumbnail. Like he's absolutely
Yeah,
like
he
one
is
of the
him.
more
Yeah.
he's one of the more iconic villains in anime and manga, especially recently. But yeah, so
Yeah.
really solid
I do
pick.
I do have to throw out one little honorable mention real quick because he was my number 10 before I replaced him with Shigaraki, and that is Saint. I will not speak on him or elaborate.
Wait, I'm sorry. I got kicked from the call and then came back. What did you say?
Oh, my honorable mention, it was my number 10 pick before I replaced him with Shigaraki, was Saint Germain from Dawn to Dawn, but I won't speak on him because Dawn to Dawn hasn't even dropped the anime yet.
Are you familiar with Dan Da Dan?
Are you familiar with Dawn to Dawn, my man? Don't get me hyped, Josh. Don't get me hyped.
Oh my goodness. Huge. But that does bring us right on over to Joshua Vykthor next on our list. Who's your number 10 villain pick, brother?
Oh yeah, before that I'm gonna say potential spoilers for King and Omega. And yeah, my villain is Shen Wulong. Like, yeah, for context, King is about associations fighting underground matches for money and things that hold money. And in Omega, pretty much things, a new association comes in that wants to control everything, and Shen Wulong is basically the leader of all of that. Or is the head of all of that, but it's not the leader.
Okay, nice. Didn't know.
I've never looked at it before.
Yeah, I'm gonna
but-
say I think most of us are not familiar with the series, so
I mean,
Yeah.
Josh is the Robin of mangas. He reads mangas that even I've never heard of, and I'm older.
yeah, me and him counted how many weekly mangas he read the other day, and it was staggering, my guy.
Well, hold on. Like I don't know really much about like Kengan or like any of it or anything like that, but I just assumed it would be like super muscly people. And like at first glance, I just Googled this guy. He just looks like a normal dude. And then I scrolled down. This guy is jacked. Like, oh my God. He has a 6-pack. He has a 6-pack on his shoulder, each of his shoulder blades. Like, this is crazy. This guy
Yeah.
is built. Like,
He has a charm of his own. Like one chapter is fighting the whole underground, everything upon every power of underground, and the other chapter is having a beer with the main characters.
Hell
interesting. Yeah, I'm not like super big into like martial arts kind of stuff, but like I do love a good tournament arc if there's any of that in there. But like
Yeah, it is.
hell yeah. Like yeah, Star Knight Anti-Lex is apparently, he said the fights are really dope in like Kengan Ashura and Kengan Omega. Like I don't know, man. It's not really like my cup of tea, but looks like chat's definitely on your side here. It's apparently a really solid villain pick. All I know is Homie is built. What? This guy is a freaking like beef castle. That's crazy.
Yeah, if we have an entire stream, I could talk only about him for like 2 hours. Yeah, he's such an interesting. Brings up discussions if you know about him.
It's that deep. That's
yeah,
cool.
Yeah,
Kingen is on my list of like 2 reads, and I'm not gonna lie, I might have to pick up the pace on getting to it because I just looked him up as well. Yeah, he's got 6 packs on his shoulders. You were right. That's like
I
my dude
wasn't
is
lying.
stacked.
I wasn't
Yeah.
lying, yeah. But like really interesting again, something that none of us here in the call have really like gotten into, but it looks like it's a pretty popular pick here in the chat, and like I didn't know it went that deep. I thought it was just like lift heavy stone punch guy, you know, like the anime,
No, it
the
goes like
manga.
that.
Yeah, so that's really cool, and that I might actually have to check that out because like I have not. I'm gonna be completely real. I've tried a couple, and I just haven't found a single like martial arts like manga or anime that
Kengan.
I've like really enjoyed.
Kengan is the best one.
I've heard Ippo and Kingen are always the two that are brought up to me. And I asked someone, I've read like 300 chapters of Ippo. I haven't read all of it, but like it's really good. So I really do need to check out Kingen as well.
Oh
And
yeah.
also the anime just finished the Kengan Ashura, so you can watch that. And then read the
Oh,
manga
yeah.
because Kengan omitted a lot of things from the original manga.
Cool. Yeah, I'll
But for
definitely check it
artists,
out.
it's good.
Hell yeah. And then we got next up on our list, we have NoChillDill, vice captain of the Eternal Dawn, was the 10th person on your list, brother.
All right, so this is where I kind of stray away from the crew's basic picks because all these villains have been so well written that they're light in a sense. No, my 10th pick goes to someone who is so well written that unanimously he is hated across the entire manga and anime read for it. I don't think you do because it's Yakumo Omori, aka the 13th Ward's Jason from Tokyo Ghoul. I won't go into spoiler territory. He is a major player in the psychological damage to the main character, as well as multiple other people throughout the series. He is one of the top founders, like the high ups of the major villain group of the first and second season of it. And I'm gonna read a quote because it goes to show how like impactful he was as someone to be hated. Is every time someone is disadvantaged in the world, it is because of their lack of ability. Their weak are trampled. They are overrun. They are violated. They are afflicted.
That's high. That is high. I got to shout out real quick. The doctor of the Eternal Dawn and the emergency food supply, our very own Smoky Chopper, Grand Line bound in the chat.
Local no doctor, smoky chopper.
But yeah, this is another intellectual property I'm not very familiar with, but I like the way you kind of sold it. Like so if a villain is over here playing head games and is like overarching to the point where like you get more than a full season out of them, like I'm almost instantly sold. Like, you know what I mean? Like I love that kind of vibe.
Psychological damage is what he majorly was like still attached to him afterwards, even after he's already gone out of the story. It's still that moment of weakness and pain for the MC.
Yeah,
It's
there's like a mixture of like villains that are on my list because they're good villains, like as far as like well written, and then there's like a number of other reasons, and a few of mine are like because of the psychological aspect that they have on main characters and just the story as a whole. So that makes me pretty hype. I might actually have to check it out. I've literally never actually seen it though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say the same. I've started Tokyo Ghoul like 3 or 4 times. Like literally the first episode, I for some reason always get like 10, 15 minutes in, and then something happens where I have to stop. Like last time I got called into work, the time before that, Jasmine had our son. Like it was like there's always something that happens that stops me.
You met the character then.
Okay.
Was he the guy in the building with the female ghoul in the first episode?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
that guy is cool.
That is Jason
So,
of the 13th Ward.
so I have a very funny story about Tokyo Ghoul because people think it's a pun. I started Tokyo Ghoul, but then I moved to China for 4 months and I never picked it back up. No joke. But yeah,
I have
that's a good pick.
I have
Good
a
pick.
disconnected story about Tokyo Ghoul, but like honestly, the best thing that I have read by that mangaka, I haven't read any Tokyo Ghoul, so this isn't a jab at Tokyo Ghoul as an IP, but like I haven't read it. So like the best thing I've read by that mangaka is that there is actually what is now accepted as canon, a backstory to one of my favorite characters in Hunter x Hunter that was written by the mangaka of Tokyo Ghoul. Like Togashi didn't write it himself, but he read this like thing that that mangaka of Tokyo Ghoul like wrote, and Togashi's like, yeah, I F with that. That's canon now. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Like
Tagashi is goated for that reason. Like,
but yeah, I know it was like Tokyo Ghoul was like ridiculously popular at one point, like through my childhood. It was like almost like at like Death Note levels of like popularity for like kids in my age group at like a certain point in time. But I just completely missed the boat on that and like never checked it out. But you're making me want to, brother. Like like that sounds like something that's right up my alley.
I'm not gonna like obviously I don't want to get into spoiler territory for it, but it's so I don't want to say refreshing because it's talking about trauma for the main character, but it's good to see that had an impact on him and that they didn't drop it because of like, oh well, it's too violent or anything like that. Like that stuff wouldn't get pushed out of the main character's head. It would be constantly just overarching there in the back, and it is, and it's so well done. He's so well written as a villain that you have to hate him because of the things that he does.
that's the sign of a good villain, in my opinion, is like it either goes one of two ways. You either love to hate them or you hate to love them. And like that is, in my opinion, like one of the best signs. It's like Joffrey in Game of Thrones. Like, I love to hate that man. But then Doflamingo, I hate that I love that man.
Wild. Yeah, I'll add it to my list. Like if I could, if I could, I just restarted watching through like a series because season 3 for ReZero just got announced for October, so I'm like deep into that right now, and I'm sad. But but once I finish with that, that's probably gonna be something I might pick up pretty soon because I've always heard like good things. I've just never actually checked it out. So yeah, that's really hype. And from how you've kind of sold it, sounds like an excellent pick.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start Tokyo Ghoul because of that, Dill. Like,
it's like I can't go on any longer. It's like Josh said, I could go on for 2 hours about how impactful Jason is to the story of Tokyo Ghoul.
Huge. Well, yeah, I think that brings it around to me next. Your boy Vex.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to. So it was so difficult for me putting this list together, and so I had to like kind of like implement a few restrictions, and so I went with only one villain from each IP that I'll be talking about. So because I would have like tripled up or like doubled up here or there on certain ones of these. So I wanted to get like a diverse array. And then another thing is that it's like these are kind of going to be in no particular order because they're all top ones for me. Like it would have broke my heart to try to put any of, so just like all of these are like my top 1 picks. Like it's just for different IPs because like I really could not rank some of them. They are all so impactful to me as a reader or watcher, but also to the stories that they are in and stuff like that. So like I really could not rank them. But the first one that I want to mention is Kirito Kamui from Psycho Pass, which is, so spoilers for season 2 of Psycho Pass, but I'm not going to be going too deep into it. But if you haven't seen Psycho Pass, it's phenomenal. It's absolutely insane. It's a like kind of like a crime psychological like dystopian suspense kind of vibe. It's not really a horror, but there are some horrific concepts that play out in the series, and it's like a futuristic dystopian society where you are judged based off of your intentions versus off of your actual like acts. There's an AI that can read your criminal coefficient, so it can tell how likely you are to commit a crime, and you can be persecuted by just that number being high enough without you actually having committed the crime in the first place. And so obviously this system is not seen as a good thing by the villains of this series, and a lot of people really like the first major arc villain and phenomenal villain. They don't miss with the show like at all. But for me, it's the the second major villain that we get introduced to that is so ridiculous. It's just this person is written so ridiculously well, and you think like, how do you rebel against a system that is so interwoven and like ingrained into the infrastructure of an entire society? And the full reveals about like how like Machiavellian this villain gets, and how like big brain, and it is one of the most thrilling and exciting and enjoyable like full arcs in all of anime that I personally have ever experienced, because this is such a compelling character that I think has like kind of warped my full perception of laws and rules and like society in general. Like honestly, like the best thing about the villains in this series is like
shook.
They're not wrong. Like these villains are like, they're right. And like, so it's like, it's almost like in the Dark Knight, like with the Joker, like when you see like this villain is just like, okay, yeah, you're going about it in like a very heinous way, but like you're not wrong in what you're spitting. And so like that's like my favorite kind of villain, is when they're actually someone you root for. You know what I mean? And this is like the definitive example for me of that kind of villain, and it's insanely well written. I absolutely love this villain, and online this villain actually kind of gets dunked on a little bit, just because a lot of people prefer the first main villain in the series, which is also an extremely like well written and complex villain. But this was the one that I bounced between the two, and I landed on this one because the sheer visceral reactions that some of the interactions that this character had with some of the core cast and just society in general was unlike anything else I've seen in pretty much all of anime or manga. It was sick.
Well, hell yeah, bro. I've heard so many good things about Psycho Pass. I still haven't started it, but yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about it. And I think with that, just like Dill and Josh, like I'm gonna have to put this down and start watching. Like,
it's phenomenal. I can't speak for season 3 actually, because I haven't finished it, but the first 2 seasons and the movie are actually like worldview altering in a sense. Like I don't say that lightly. Like this actually was insane. Like to think about like if you're into like, because it's like dystopian, so if like stuff like Black Mirror, it kind of piques your interest. It's like, imagine if instead of like a one-off, like a 1 hour thing, imagine if it was like a full intellectual property based around one of these crazy dystopian like synopsis, you know?
oh, that sounds awesome. Yeah, that is right up my alley.
So
Yeah,
like,
it's
I won't
super
lie with that whole speech about why it's your pick. You kind of scared me that you're about to do your villain origin story speech, because you were very vocal about it. Understanding the villain, he made me understand that laws are physical little things. The way you described it, I said, dude, is he about
Yeah,
to
he's scared.
tell us? He's about to tell us I'm about this life. Like, guys, when reading that manga, I realized I was about this life.
Yeah, he's about to tell us. I think the FBI agent that listens in on the Eternal Dawn Discord was shaking a little bit. He was like, "Oh."
No, but like
You might have
legitimately
to
though.
break this law to
No,
stop
but, like-
this man from committing a crime.
No, but like legitimately, I
Alpha Bravo
actually
was broken.
one of my exes if watched this IP with me, and they are in law enforcement, and they were also like, this guy's right. So I mean, if that like exonerates me from any of these allegations, like, but like it's just how well written the character is. It doesn't speak to me as a person, like, like. But it's really solid, and I would have felt so much disappointed with myself if I did not include at least one villain from this, but I would have included more if I didn't limit myself to what, like, that's how good Psycho Pass is. Like, so but yeah, that's definitely go check it out. I highly recommend at least checking out the first 2 seasons. You will not be disappointed if you're into that kind of stuff. but I don't think anyone else here in the call has seen or
Yeah,
read
no,
Psychopaths.
I don't think so either.
So I've popped off about that enough. Let's go ahead and slide it back on over to Cube of the Red Sea for your number 9 pick.
Okay, so it's a hard act to follow, but I'll try my best. So it's Gustavo Fringe from Breaking. No, I'm just kidding. So
Hell yeah, Los Pollos Hermanos.
Los pollos hermanos.
So because of this character, he was a villain of the story, and because of him, I've always said that it's the only manga where there are side characters, villains, but no hero. And I'll talk about the GOAT himself. The man who was supposed to be a great hero, but instead fell to becoming one of the most... I hate him because he's so well written, and that is him. The man that wielded the Death Note for his own ego. Light Yagami. The original
Yes,
Sherlock.
yes.
Dude, I'm sorry.
He was my
has
number
to be.
12.
Oh yeah, he's my number 9. I feel like it's very compelling, and I know people did not like the anime and the manga, his downfall. I feel like it was a perfect way to end on how he was introduced. You know, a broken man. I
Dude,
feel like, you know,
he's just such a well-written villain, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I meme about that helicopter moment a lot, which anyone who's seen the series knows what I'm talking about. But like, who is it? It's Brad Swaley, I think, who does his dub voice. When he gets caught at the end, which I know we're doing light spoilers, but I don't know anyone who hasn't seen Death Note.
Raise his hand.
Wow.
But that laugh, dude, when he's like, "You fell into my trap all along," and like it's just so well done. One of the best final speeches from a villain of all time in all of anime and manga.
It's up there. I think that for me, I don't put Death Note anywhere near as highly as kind of the entire community, but I definitely don't put it down. I like Death Note. I think that the most heinous and villainous thing that ever happened in the anime, though, was that foot massage, if you know what I'm talking about. Like that was crazy.
Let me wash your feet on these stairs.
But
like I know it was supposed to like symbolize Jesus washing Judas's feet, but like
exactly.
it got weird. That was it got weird. But no, I respect this take. I think that, you know, there are a few things where I was just like, why did this happen? And so like I'm not gonna say Death Note is like perfectly written, but I think that the interactions between most like characters, for the most part, it's really, really, really intelligently written. Like, and like I don't say perfect a lot. I say like it's really good or really well written, but like for me to say that it's very intelligently written is a completely different and distinct and notable compliment. Like I don't say that about everything, but they do. It's one of those like situations where you have to assess so many different bits of information and how you want this to all cascade to the audience. And if you have not checked out Death Note, like we're not going to get into anything super specific, but like it's actually such a crazy ride. Yeah.
For those who are wondering if they've never read Death Note, the best example I could tell you is, imagine if in a manga you're reading Sherlock Holmes versus Moriarty, but from Moriarty's point of view. That's how I describe it.
Yeah.
That's how you describe it.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Way to describe it too.
L being Sherlock Holmes, and obviously Light being Moriarty.
Canonically, every time we stream, I sit exactly like L.
That's not good. It's not good for your back. Like it's really not.
It is not.
There's a kid that used to do that all through my schooling.
With a spoon in his mouth.
Oh my goodness, full of sugar. Yeah, but no, I think that like somebody had to say it, and I'm sure this person like honestly like Light might be on a few other people's lists as well. I like this type of like story though, where you get from the perspective of like the villainous, like because villain and antagonist are two completely different terms. And
I eat this potato chip. Sorry.
No, somebody had to say it. Yeah, but no, I really respect this take a lot, and I knew somebody was gonna say it.
Yeah, like I said, he was my number 12. Like if we had done like a top 15 or top 20, Light would have been my number 12.
But yeah, like if you haven't if you somehow haven't checked out Death Note at this point in time,
Dill.
it is one of the most, I think, for as far as like my generation and newer generations, because I'm old now, like I think that it's like absolutely one of the most integral must view anime experiences. If you're into manga, definitely check out the manga as well, but like as far as like anime experiences, it's one of the, but like I would even say more so than Attack on Titan and like Naruto. Like at this point it has transcended so many different like generations, and like people who aren't even into anime are into Death Note, like kind of like
my
Attack
wife
on Titan
loves it.
vibes. Yeah, so definitely check it out.
She refuses to watch anime, and she is in love with it. I believe I am next, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
I thought it a Death Note, dude. I say, dude, I'm sorry for you. Yeah. You're next.
Oh yeah, your name's on that list. Because your kiss is on. I'm sorry.
No, dude, I thought you were about to start singing the first theme song to Death Note. We're like, anyway, my number 9 is from a series that is relatively new. It's only about 106 chapters in, and it is Jabber from Gachiakuta, which an anime has been announced. Yeah, I don't want to say too much about him, but I'm going to be honest. This guy reminds me of when DC wrote the Joker well. Like, he is so much just an agent of chaos. He is so much just a, like, the kind of guy who would stab you in the face and laugh while doing it. Like, that's the best way to describe him. But he does it, and at first you're like, this guy doesn't have any kind of purpose. But then you figure out, like, oh yeah, he does. Like, it's just, Jabber is such a the villains in general in Gachiakuta is very, very, very well written. But the energy that Jabber gives off, even in the pages, makes me so hyped up to see how they're going to handle him in the anime. Love me some Jabber.
I'm pretty hype about it. I know nothing really about Gachiakuta except for like I've seen a lot of like I'm the trash man memes.
Yeah, I'm the trash man. Yeah, that manga is trash in the best way.
Okay, but like I'm very hype. I'm very hyped to check it out. Like it's definitely on my list as far as manga things to read. And go ahead.
I will say this about Gachiakuta for anyone in the chat or in the call who has not picked it up and tried to read it yet. One of the best power systems I have seen in all of anime manga. Like, such a unique way of doing it.
Hell yeah. I'm a big fan
I think
of
Josh will agree with me on that.
solid power systems.
Yo, shout out Tainted Martha in the chat. Let's go.
I just think Jabber is such a crazy name.
Look up his design real quick. If you're comfortable with it, look up his design. His design is amazing, man.
Oh yeah.
Comfortable with it.
Yeah, that's
well, like,
actually
some
hilarious.
people don't want to be spoiled on like how the character looks. And
I know,
stuff
no,
like that,
I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you. Just the way you said it, like.
I'm about to pull out my own Jabber and get them claws on, boy. Like,
I'm looking at I looked it up right now.
now.
This guy looks insane. Like, wow.
Yeah, he is. He's awesome.
Absolutely wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, huge shout out to Dax Hake in the chat. What's good, brother? Honestly, I'm not even gonna the Spiral King, I really thought about it. Like, but if I were to put a Gurren Lagann pick, I would have put Viral because he was a villain at one point in time, and that's my boy. And I limited myself to like only one villain from each intellectual property. But really solid shout out there. I know Tree the Wolf, Struggler of the Eternal Dawn, is a huge Gurren Lagann fan. That's his #1 of all time.
Yeah, I almost put Lil Slugger on my list as well. Kind of sad I didn't.
I got you, bro. Gachiakuta
Hey,
villain.
hold on. Andy Lex in the chat saying I rooted for Doflamingo during Dressrosa is crazy.
That is actually wild.
I mean, guys, didn't you guys hear his stream 2 weeks ago where he said he hopes Saturn wins for him Saturn is the best character in Egghead right now.
Oh my god.
Told you guys. Watch out on Andy.
Celestial Dragon coded. Yeah, Celestial Dragon coded.
And that's coming from Kube, and Kube was the guy who was glazing Garling for like a couple of weeks there, so this is crazy.
Holy
No,
Night Cube.
it was my end as a revolutionary to get into the Holy Knights. They saw through my act, so I had to hide away, change name and everything. You know, didn't work.
Oh my goodness. But that brings us to next up, another Gacha Kuda fan. Maybe we'll see another entrant from that soon. We get Josh's 9th pick. Who you got, brother?
Yeah, for my 9th pick, I'm gonna say spoilers for Naruto Shippuden.
Oh, shit. Lucas, deafen up.
Yeah, I'm gonna say at me when you're.
Yeah, Lucas has not read Naruto or Naruto Shippuden. I think he last left off in the around the tuning exams. Homie just met Jiraiya, so please be kind in the chat. But pop off, Josh.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Madara. Just his introduction and everything. Yeah, him coming back and just fighting the entire Ninja Alliance on his own.
So this was your dream, Naruto Uzumaki.
Bro,
I wish we had gotten that.
Yeah, when homie said, "Oh Noki, what will you do about the second meteor?" I was like, "What?" like this was insane.
Naruto just feels the weight of another entire meteor crushing him down.
That shit
so
was
cool.
peak.
Now, do you
dude.
want my clones to use Susanoo? What?
Yeah, the fight.
Guys, and let's talk about how everyone, even Tsunade and medical ninjas, always says you have to be in a stable environment to do those kind of stuff. You need to be in that. Madara, mid-fight, was able to do a procedure where he took a Kakashi's eyes with just 2 fingers and nothing else.
Yeah, I think that also that's hilarious. I think that like the Madara and like Guy fight is one of the peak, like the most peak things that anyone's ever seen. Like as far as like end of story fights go. What I will say though, to contrast this, because I love his introduction and so many of the moments with him, but I think that Kishimoto did like kind of a terrible job writing his backstory and his motivation. Like there's kind of some plot holes with like, that's the only reason I didn't put him on my list, is because like he has such a like I would rather put Danzo than him on my list, you know what I mean, if I were putting like Naruto villains. But I love Madara. He's a force of nature, and but like I just think that the writing around him was so poorly done, in my opinion, like for like what was supposed to be built up as an end game villain, you know.
I mean, I don't care about the build up if the villain is landing with the interaction and his fight and everything is done right.
Yeah, I respect that. I do care a bit about the build up though, you know what I mean.
Everyone has their own subjective thing, but for me, he's good in the list. It makes sense that you took Madara. Yeah.
Yeah. But really solid pick. Like I said, is like in contest for like being on my list, but like there's so much other greatness that like I couldn't, because I do have small gripes with the way that Kishimoto wrote him. But one of the sickest intros as far as villains go in all of anime and manga, like that GIF, like I use it all the time, of just his like his Sharingan like darting back and forth, and this dude's about to like piece up 1,000 ninjas like in like the blink of an eye. It's crazy.
It was so cold.
Yeah,
it's almost like time freezes for everyone except for him, as he just analyzes what everyone's about to do. It's pure peak Sharingan usage.
Mm-hmm.
To Dax Sake, that's your boy Josh. He does have his Eternal Dawn log pose, big chillin', posted up in a lawn chair. But I think if anyone wants to at Lucas really quick so he can undeafen, I think that's all we'll speak on this character for now. We might bring it up on somebody else's list later, though.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Hey.
Don't
I'm
go
here.
to the YouTube chat for a little bit though.
Yeah, let it drop a bit.
But yeah, I really solid pick. Can't wait for Lucas to get there. But that brings us over to NoChillDill. We got a number 9.
So, as opposed to Kube's number 10, my number 9 is actually along the same vein as Team Rocket. It is actually Team Galactic.
Oh, let's
Wild.
go.
Wild.
Because for the opposite reason as Jason, I don't love to hate Cyrus. I hate to love him because
Cyrus is one of the best written antagonists in the entire Pokemon series. Like
he just wanted to create a new world, bro. Now it was flawed that he wanted to be the deity of the world, but in the world of Pokemon, trying to create a new world doesn't seem that bad, especially with what we've seen from all the past iterations before that of saying, hey, let's just hit the reset button. But in terms of just being a straight up menace to the world that he was already in, he said, yes, I'm going to be the one to rule over time or space and chaos.
Yeah, and he wanted to make he was willing to make a new world all for the sake of what he saw as bettering humanity.
Yes.
And, putting himself in charge. But that's not the point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Outside of the wanting to be a deity, he was trying to press the reset button to make the world a better place.
He didn't agree with how the Pokemon were treated. He didn't agree how humans were. He had reasons to do what he did. I think Cyrus is one of the best written villains in Pokemon. That's a solid choice still.
Not my favorite.
The whole encompassing galactic, because it was Cyrus's efforts that led them to where they were, but all of the other research members that he had were also finding out that information for him. It wasn't just him coming to the conclusion, hey, I can restart the world if I want to.
Yeah, it's not my favorite generation, but really, really solid pick for a villain, because I feel like, yeah, some of the Pokemon teams are a bit laughable and stuff like that, but by the time you get to Gen 4 and Gen 5, it's it actually starts to get really serious. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's really interesting to think about how it went from something like Team Rocket, Cube's first pick, which we all loved because it was iconic, and these are individuals that are famous for failing, to something that is actually a cosmic threat like that. You know what I mean?
It was Gen 1 and 2, it was we like to steal Pokemon, and then Gen 3 it was we're going to flood the world.
I'm not even a big Team Aqua and Magma fan, but it's catastrophic, but their plans were dumb in my. But when you get to Gen 4 and Gen 5, though, you're just oh, it's like that. What?
It's world shaking. The teams are just going for ones that are to rewrite how everything was, and it's so good. I had a tough time going between Gen 5 and Gen 4 for the teams. It's just Cyrus just spoke more about what he was trying to change in the world.
Yo,
Dak just killed me.
That's hilarious. He said Jesse and James had more backstory than Kaido.
It is true.
Wow.
Thank you for bringing that up.
I love that. Oh my goodness. But
I'm 99% sure Vegapunk was working for Team Rocket. It was crazy.
he's not wrong, but
Team Quasar.
we love that. Really solid pick, Dill. I respect it.
Jesse's bottle cap collection over anything Kaido cared for.
Wild.
Yes, dude.
But next up on my list, and again, I'm not doing this in a particular order, so since Lucas had just briefly mentioned this, I'll go ahead and put this as my next intro, or as my next entry, is actually Lil Slugger, aka Golden Bat or Shonen Bat, sir, from Paranoia Agent. I will not spoil this because it is a absolutely insane experience, and you need to check it out. It is a psychological horror, kind of like a mystery whodunit kind of thing. And the greatest thing about the show is that for so long, until you get to the big reveal near the end. And again, I will not spoil it. You need to watch it yourself, and I would never want to take that experience away from somebody because it's iconic. But you get to know this villainous character by like the impressions that they've made on the victims as they are like just going and indiscriminately and randomly, it seems, just like bludgeoning just an unwitting populace in Japan. And you get to see the detectives on like the task force, like, so there's kind of like that like Death Note-ish aspect to it, but you also get to see the interactions of like the society around them and hearing like so much of what we know about this character is like rumors and hearsay, and it's so cool to see this like whole social phenomenon play out. And the story is extremely dark. It is very dark, but it was like such a crazy watch for me, and I love this type of like if my first entry on this list was psychopaths, so like obviously I'm a big fan of like psychological stuff, but this was one of the first experiences in like my anime watching career that like actually had me like with my jaw on the floor. It was so good.
Yeah, same. I watched the series as it was coming out on Adult Swim back in the day. This was 2006, 2007, and it is legitimately one of the first series, not even just anime, that ever made me just go, no effing way. Like, no way that just happened. No way that's the twist. Like, so I have to second this, Vex. Even though Little Slugger did not make my list, one of the best written antagonists, one of the best written twists in all of anime manga.
Completely agree.
Kudos. Such a good pick.
I saw your list and saw that this wasn't on it. I was like, I have to. I absolutely have to. And like, this was, again, just like, my pick from Psychopaths, like somebody who just like absolutely warped the way that I expect villains to be written in every intellectual property I see afterwards. Like, this was like completely breaking of the mold, and like such a really well and intelligently written character. Like it's so good. Like, go check it out if you're like, there's not like straight up gore, but it's pretty psychological. So I mean, if you're not like into that kind of thing, don't check it out, I guess. But like, I highly recommend it. It's so good.
Yes, sir. I have to second this again.
Torture yourself.
Yeah. Torture yourself, he said.
So I just have to say it because it was so funny and I didn't want to break the thing. Dak said something while you guys were talking. Y'all remember that giant Kazakhstan robot that Team Rocket had? Pretty sure that was the first edition of Vega Force.
It was. This is true. Oda even said that was the inspiration.
Okay, wow.
He said, when I first started One Piece, this episode of Pokemon the anime came out, and I knew I wanted to make a giant Kangaskhan, but I couldn't do that because it's Pokemon.
Hold up. You straight up going in the chat, Lucas, and saying Meowth is just a better carrot is the funniest thing I've seen today. Oh my goodness. But yeah, like I said, I really do not want to spoil. I just want to like sell you on this viewing experience. There is no manga. It was anime only. Anime original content, and it was directed by a very famous director. Go check it out. It's actually kind of a masterpiece, but again, it is a little bit dark.
It is, yeah. It is. Ooh.
But that brings us back over to Kube. We're starting now our third round picks. It was your number 8 entry, Kube.
Okay, guys, my number 8 entry. I was trying to think, who can it be? And I said, you know what? I want to put a Celestial Dragon. I didn't know. Then I said, you know what? Let me put an OG Celestial Dragon. The Celestial Dragon of all Celestial Dragon. The one that even Celestial Dragon, when they talk about him, they talk to him like he's their son, God Nika. The one in the same. The Emperor Frieza.
Wild.
The original Celestial Dragon. The original Celestial Dragon.
Oh my goodness, bro.
I mean, do I have we've all seen Dragon Ball. We saw Red Dragon Ball. Do I have to make the speech of why Frieza is just so goated?
No.
I mean, he's a perfect villain. Like, he is, for me, I said true evil. Like, there, you know what I mean? Like, if there's someone who's just truly evil and loves to be like, remember when, and it's Dragon Ball Super still, when Goku went to find Frieza in his hell, we all would have loved that hell, and Frieza hated it. We all loved that hell. He hated it.
Listen, my favorite Frieza moment from the newest Dragon Ball era, like with Super and everything, is when they were like fighting Broly, and he's like, "Oh no, Broly, your father was hit by one of your beams." Like after he killed Broly's dad. Oh, dude, it's so good.
The craziest thing about Frieza is that like everything we get in the Namek saga and whatnot is like there's the most iconic, like, you know, like, this isn't even my final form meme that's like as old as the internet probably, but there's also like, it's crazy to think that that's Frieza who never trained, who never got up off the throne and just sat there. And then like later on, whenever you actually see Frieza like on real villain timing and actually hitting the gym and stuff, it's insane, the glow up. It's such a crazy villain. Like, I don't like it really, somebody had to pick it, obviously. So yeah, it's a really interesting pick.
And I'll say this to really prove how villainous he is. Remember when Namek, when Vegeta was telling Goku on his deathbed about how Frieza basically killed the whole planet and all of their people? And they said, just look at him. He's even proud of it. And you have to look at the scene in the episode. They zoom in on Frieza's face while Vegeta says that, and Frieza's giving like the most authentic and innocent smile he's ever given. Like he's so proud of himself. So this why for me, he's just amazing.
Yes,
so
sir.
Number 8 is Frieza.
I got to shout out 2 goats in the chat real quick. Mr. Palapino Works here. And my brother from a German mother, Desmond the Dwarf. So glad to see you both in the chat, my man. But yes, very solid pick, Cube. Very, very solid pick. Surprised he's not a little higher for you, if I'm being honest.
You'll see why, because all the other villains, basically starting 8 is when there's the goated ones. It's just between 8 to 1, they could all be number 1. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I literally had an existential crisis trying to sequence my villain. I'm just like, I'm just gonna do it in no particular order. Like I can't. Like, like they're all top 1. Yeah. But
Desmond said that Mihawk's actor said he wanted the alien fruit model Vegeta.
Okay.
That's hilarious.
Crazy. But yeah, I think that Frieza is such a solid pick that like there's not really too much more that needs to be said, but I did want to mention before we move on is that like just the sheer ability to dilate time so that like the next 2 minutes ended up taking like 40 episodes is crazy. Like what a feat, am I right? But go ahead, Lucas. Who's your number 8 pick?
Yeah. My number 8, some spoilers for a series that I know Vex loves a lot and I love a lot, and it is Ancient Magus Bride. From here on out until my top, I want to say 4, you could switch out most of these villains. It is Cartophilus. I think he is one of the best. The only reason he is not higher on my list, he would have been in the top 5 if I knew more about him. But he's one of the best written villains I've ever come across, like legitimately. I don't want to say too much because I know there's a lot of people in here who have not watched the series. But yeah, Cartophilus is just, there's something menacing about him. And then the more you learn about him, the more you're like, I need to know more about this man. I need to know exactly what's going on with him and his psyche. And yeah, he is just so well written. It's like Dill was saying, he's a villain that I hate to love. But yeah. I do love that man.
I'll speak more on this character because I'm pretty sure nobody else on our panel here has seen or read Ancient Magus Bride, but I'll speak more on this character shortly. What I will say is that we can get an entire series dedicated to this character and we will still never have enough answers. Like it's crazy. It's insane.
It is so, yeah. The depth to him alone from what we know and me still saying I need to know more is just insane.
Yeah, I really respect this pick, so much so that is also on my list, but I'll pop off in a little bit more about that.
Yes, sir.
This is for like the 12th time me telling everybody in this crew and everybody in this chat, go watch Ancient Magus Bride. It's really, really solid. If you get past the first,
you got me backing you up.
Yeah, if you get through the first like episode and a half, like you'll understand true greatness, because the 3rd episode and the second half of the 2nd episode are peak and it's nothing but gas from like. But the first episode is a little weird, not gonna lie, but it's cool. It's actually like amazing. Stop. No. I hate it here. But now moving on from that as quickly as humanly possible. We are next up. We have Joshua Victor, your number 8 pick. Please quickly save me from this.
Yeah, before I do that, I'm gonna say spoilers again. At this time for Undead Unlock Season 1. Big spoilers for Season 1. And yeah, my number 8 villain is Billy. Like, for content, for context, because most people here haven't watched it. That he was introduced as one of the main guys in the as the main cast, and has big connections to one of the main characters. But then, right in the middle of the season, he just is revealed that he's the main villain and the main leader of the villain association, basically.
Who was it? I'm sorry, I missed who you said.
Billy.
I can't take.
Billy Alfred.
I literally can't take somebody with the name Billy seriously. like I don't know.
Seriously, if you watch the series,
I probably will, but like, but at like I don't know, just from like outside like third party perspective, like it's just so funny. It was just like, this is the biggest bad. This is him. This is the head honcho, Billy. You know, I don't know. Like, but no, pop off. Yeah.
Yeah, the more you know his motivation, the more you know why he does everything in the series. Like also, everything he does is also tied to his ability and his mentality and everything. Like, and then like just know how so well how to write characters and their motivation.
Oh, sorry. Decimus just put Discord as one of their top villains, and are you talking about this like the program, like the software?
Yeah.
It's like a reference
Also,
to something I'm overlooking.
Yeah, is Gary green in the German releases? Because he's blue in America and in Japan, I believe.
No, that's how they say the color blue in Germany. It's green. I'm just messing. The silence.
That doesn't make sense.
The silence and people did not know what it meant. So like.
But yeah, I don't know anything about Undead Unluck other than that Josh has told us all to check it out like a bunch. But I will have to put it on my list. I wanted to give it like more time to cook, like
yeah.
But also at the same time as I do that, it's like I'm facing like the existential crisis of like, now there's too much. But I'm a One Piece fan, so you know I don't think that word exists, like that concept actually exists, you know. But yeah, I would love to. I'll have to check it out, and then I'll revisit this for sure. But again, it's just gonna take so much for me to take a character named Billy seriously. But I'm sure it'll get the job done.
The whole premises of Undead Unlock is insane. Like I haven't read it yet, but like I need to.
Yeah,
I really need to.
Yeah, for context, Undead Unlock starts with the main character trying to kill herself.
Wild.
You mean commit silver slide?
Yeah, I couldn't go with that.
Yeah, we're an hour in.
Yeah, he said, yeah, we're an hour in.
But yeah, crazy. I'll have to it's a lot of stuff's going on my list, you know, like in this stream. And again, we hope that you guys also all check this stuff out and will enjoy some of these intellectual properties that we all care about. Well, a lot because they're on our top 10 lists. But next up, we've got back over to NoChillDill for your number 8 pick.
All right. So this one is kind of like they were saying also, is it can be moved around. I think that Jason is a good 10th spot and Team Galactic is a good 9th spot, but from 8th to like 5th, they start to get blurred between them. Because this one, most people wouldn't even consider him a villain. He's from Bleach. He resides within the main character, but his entire goal is to make the main character no longer the main body. And I'm of course talking about Hollow Ichigo, aka Zangetsu. He just wants to control the body. Like that's the only thing that makes him a villain, is that he doesn't want the main character to be the main character.
Peak. Yeah, I vibe with it. I'm like, I was such a Zangetsu fan back in the day, bro. Like I thought that was like the coolest shit ever when I was like a super edgy teenager. Like I actually this is nowhere on the internet. You will not be able to find it. That's actually one of the only things I've ever cosplayed as.
Let's go.
Zangetsu.
I'm looking
Yeah.
for it now.
You'll never
That's
find
awesome.
it.
Yeah,
You'll
you
literally
don't know
never
who we're
find
talking
it.
to.
Yeah, hey guys, Will, Knack, you are snipers. I know you're listening right now. Get to work. Gotta find it for me.
Like, no, and so like two of the people in this call, like at least two of the people in this call, know my real name. You'll still never find it. It will
That's what
literally,
I'm saying,
it's
I'll find
literally
it.
impossible.
But
It's literally impossible.
I have to finish this with what I did for Jason as a quote, just to symbolize him. This is a continuation of the king and a horse comment from his earlier conversation with Ichigo. I'm not going to have it, Ichigo. I don't know about Zangetsu, but I refuse to carry a king who's weaker than me and get cut to ribbons with him. If you're weaker than me, then I'll destroy you and take the crown for myself.
Oh man, that's fine.
Huge. Oh yeah, Kube does not F with Bleach. Like at all. But like
He's like, okay, whatever.
I can respect
It is.
I can respect that you guys like it. That's all
Yeah.
I can give you.
Listen, Cube, I was also a detractor of Bleach until I read it all. Like, it is really solid.
Lucas,
I am gonna include
sorry to say
quotes with all
you
of mine
are-
moving forward because I like what Dill's putting down. Sorry, go ahead.
okay, what can I say that? Lucas, when it comes to manga, if a manga had a dress, you would run after that dress.
Hey yo.
That's how I see it with manga. That's how I see it with manga. Lucas tell me, I read it, it changed my mind. Lucas is very open-minded with mangas. It's not like you have like deep cultures like some of us. You read almost
wow.
everything. You respect almost everything, which is good, you know?
I do respect most things.
Yeah.
Cube, check your DMs,
Unless
and
it's
that might relate a little bit more to you as Zangetsu as a character.
Yeah, really solid pick. And of all of the people you could have pulled from, because there is a pretty solid villainous cast in One Piece. Like I'm not in one. Sorry, I'm so used to speaking on one in Bleach. Because like of all of like the villain groups in all of like anime and manga, I think that the Espada are like among the most iconic. Like right up there with like the Phantom Troop and like the Akatsuki and stuff like that. Like they are for sure up there. But to pick a villain from outside of that, and it's really interesting, and I totally respect your pick.
oh,
Dude, I won't lie, Polypede, I was about to slander you, but then I realized you wrote Kubo, not Cube. Okay. You wrote Kubo is so funny because you write Shonen Slop for like 20 chapters and write Peak out of nowhere. At first I was going to say, first of all, I'm not a mangaka. Right? Don't take my pick as a mangaka. Then
Oh my goodness.
Oh, Kubo. Okay, Kubo. Okay, I get it.
But,
Okay. You're good, Polypede. You're good, Polypede.
So we have a sad update. The person I was going to send to Cube to relate to, he doesn't know about. So it's unfortunate, you know.
But yeah, the main
At least-
takeaway
at
from
least
this number 8 will be, and again, this is in no particular order. It's convenient again because once again Lucas has alley-ooped me and like put me up with like he just made it easy for me to put what order these are in. Is he just spoke on Cartophilus, and I specifically want to speak on a little bit more specific, but I still won't go super spoilery. But my entry is Joseph. If you know, you know, which is which is such an interesting.
if you could see the eye roll I just did.
But this is a villainous force in Ancient Magus Bride, not to be confused with Cartophilus, and I will quote like 2 specific lines from this character that I think really sum them up. I couldn't just find one quote to do it, but when homie said, "Why is it so hard? I just want to live a good life." That actually partially broke me. That was such a that hit
Yes,
so
sir.
hard. It was insane. Seeing like how this could have devolved from like that into this next quote, which is what we get in another point in the story, which is, "You might call me a monster because I do what I want regardless of what that does to others." And like for this person to have spent such a long stretch of time committing such atrocities and feeling no specific type of way about it, like this is absolutely a true villain. One of the more heinous villains that I've seen in recent anime and manga. It's actually insane.
Agreed.
Like the visceral reactions that were evoked from me of some of the deeds of this character, it's like actually quite literally gut-wrenching. Like this person made me feel legitimate hatred.
How do you feel? How do you feel about cats, Vex?
Oh my god, stop. But no, like and like Lucas had said before, is I am really super curious to get more from them, because like the writing has been done so well and it's been left so open-ended that like it could kind of go anywhere with this character. And it's really interesting that when you see like a villainous faction that is not entirely dealt with, and actually there's like strives from like some of the main characters to understand it. Again, it's like a lot of the villains on my list are just like villains that aren't necessarily wrong. It's just about like the execution, you know what I mean? But like, I don't know. It's really interesting, and I could speak for hours on just this one character. And like I said before, they could get their entire own series, like 50 plus episodes, and I would still never have enough from this character. But I really, really, really appreciate like the writing that's done, and I think that for a first-time mangaka, for like the first main villainous force, like such a phenomenal job, like insanely well written, and everyone should go check out Ancient Magus Bride. But that is all I've got to say on that without getting hyper specific. And that brings us back over to Kube for our next round. This is going to be our 7th on our lists.
So I'm gonna offer something. So because my two next one are two characters from Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. So what I'll do, just for me, I'll ask Lucas to deafen, and I will do a bulk explanation for both of them. So like this, you know, he doesn't have to deafen twice later on as well.
Appreciate that. Just let me know when you're done.
Yeah, no worries. Just deafen.
Yeah, chat, just a reminder, Lucas has not gotten past the tuning exams in Naruto. Please be kind and mindful in the chat for Lucas. Thank you.
Yeah. So my number 7 is Danzo from Naruto Shippuden. For those who know, you know, and I keep saying that. Of course, he's important for the plot, but if you remove him from the story, a lot of people who were enemies might have been allies much early on because of his, the Akatsuki, Kabuto, Orochimaru, the list goes on. Danzo is one of those people, and I've said this. Give me a Rinnegan, give me a Mangaku Sharingan, give me the Byakugan, give me all of the Eyes abilities in Naruto, and I will gladly torture Danzo for an eternity and then take his life. That's how much I hate him. The number 6 now is actually a villain in Naruto that I love to hate, but I really like how he's written. The great Orochimaru, the great snake.
Oh, bro.
Yeah.
What I'll say about Danzo, actually probably like, and this is like a take that I've seen very heavily disputed on the internet, probably one of the best like actually written villains in all of Naruto. You're supposed to hate him, and a lot of people do, so that's a sign of a really solid villain. And when it comes to a lot of other villains in Kishimoto's works, I think that there are really cool and notable aspects of them. But the number one thing that Kishimoto always, I feel like, drops the ball on, and I brought this up with Madara, is that like the backstory. Like, but Danzo actually makes sense. Danzo is actually very well written, whereas I don't think, at least he's better written in my opinion, backstory wise and motivation wise, than every single other villain in Naruto. Easy.
And the fact that when you go in Shippuden and you get the backstory of what Danzo has done behind the scenes, you kind of realize every people that Naruto tried to change and sometimes failed, Danzo was there before. So it's like, oh my god. If Danzo didn't do his paintbrush, maybe Naruto would have had easy with the Talk no Jutsu. So yeah, it's like, but yeah, I didn't know Shimaru. But yeah, I'll tell Lucas he can jump back in because obviously.
Hell yeah. So that is Kube's number seven and number six picks. Both very solid. Yeah, I not much more to say. And whenever we get Lucas back and undeafened, it will be going to him.
Yeah. Dude, he hasn't seen. Oh, come on, Lucas. Hop in. Come on, dude. Now is, you know what? He got upset the second time.
Let's just flame him until he gets back in here about not watching Naruto. Oh, here he goes. Here we go.
No. Hey, listen here. Yeah, listen here. Okay. I don't even know.
But Kube just spit his number 7 and number 6 pick. So we're to number 7 from you, Lucas.
Yeah, I actually, it's going to be pretty easy to just breeze over my number 7 because, like Kube before me, my number 7 is Frieza.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
And I think we all understand why Frieza's up there. Like,
my thing, like, if we're speaking a little bit more about Frieza, is that like the arc isn't even done yet. Like, that's the craziest thing, is like, obviously, like, we had the Saiyan saga, like, before we ended up going to Namek. They weren't like the first major villain in DBZ back in the day. And there was all of Dragon Ball before that. But like Frieza being one of the more iconic old school like villain, and for their arc in Dragon Ball Super to still be unfolding and for them to be pivotal in what I believe has been stated to be the final arc of all of Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, like that is like about to be we're about to be getting into. For Frieza to still be prevalent speaks volumes.
Yeah, exactly. The OG who is still going on. I agree, Polypede. Frieza is a cutie that did nothing wrong except for all the genocide.
Okay, so
minor crime.
Let's go ahead and move right on past that. And Josh, your number 7 pick, please.
Yeah, for my number 7 is again from Gachakuta. Yeah, the boss of Jabbar, the boss of the Raiders, the main group of villains of that series is Zodi Typhon. Like,
yes, sir.
Everything you just Lucas told about Jabbar, this guy is the boss of that motherfucker.
Huge. So
I will second that. As Zodal almost made my list, I actually specifically did not choose him on this because I knew Josh was going to go hard for him.
Every word, every phrase, every word he says in the series is calculated and thought about, and
it's really quotable as a villain as well. Like almost everything he says could be like you guys have been giving quotes out for villains. Like every word he says could be a quote itself.
Yeah, a bit like Thanos in Infinity War Endgame, when everything he said sounded like this hard quote.
Yeah, like
exactly.
Yeah, in Dark he was introduced like everyone was fighting. The main cast was fighting the Raiders, and the main character remained with the villain. And they didn't have a physical fight. They have a debate basically.
Talk no jutsu. You know what I'm saying?
But Talk no jutsu, but the villain was Talk no jutsu, the main character.
That's actually awesome. Like I know I said it earlier. I literally can't wait to get into that as a manga. Hype, even more hype.
Yeah, you have to.
Trust me, I will.
Actually, I was just gonna bring up something that Will said. Frieza hate crime. He called them monkeys. Well, actually, Saiyans have monkey tails. So is it really
okay?
Hate crime?
Do not die on that hill, Cube. No,
right
this is not how you want to be seen.
Monkeys.
This is on the internet. This is eternal. This is forever.
It's eternal.
Yeah, shout out to the Eternal Dawn. We love those guys. We are those guys. Next up though, we have NoChillDill with his number 7 pick. What's good, bro? My dog just
So this
choked.
one is my first dip into the villain is the MC. And I couldn't think of a better person. I literally had to change this person's spot. They were higher. Yeah. They're going after one goal. The one that moved up a place is just about oppression. I'm talking about from Saga of Tanya the Evil, Tanya von
Hell yeah.
Vigorachov.
Yes,
The
brother.
isekai mad woman herself. So my quote, it's kind of a longer one, but it's speaking to her entire battalion that she commands at this point of the story, and it underlies her reason for why she wants to do what she does. She was taken into the east, like she was isekai'd into the world from a normal world. Nothing was going her way, and then it was like, you know what? I don't like the person who did this to me. So if there is a God who rules this world, it is a stern, solemn, and infinitely good being, a being that is far too great. God keeps forcing us to confront these cruel fates, as if those were the rules of this world. Thus, I declare once more, O God, I'll slice you into tiny pieces and feed you to the pigs. Our battlefield is no place for that piece of shit. God, I think it's time we took over God's work. We soldiers will take God's place, put that arrogant ass God out of a job. All right, troops, it's time for war.
Yeah. Like, honestly, this was one of the most successful isekais, in my opinion, that I've ever seen. I would say top 10 for sure. And I know that it's became a little bit of an overplayed and like overstayed kind of genre in more recent years, but this came out like closer to a decade ago. Like this, I think it was like 7 years ago or something like that. And this was such a ridiculously well done protagonist, which is like, yes, they're a protagonist, but they are the villain effectively. And it's such a good character, such amazing writing. And like, I think that the world that they got put into is also like really interestingly built in such a short amount of time, because it's only like 12 episodes. An absolute must watch if you like good isekai.
All right, so the premise of it, before isekai, they were a salary man living in the year 2013. After the isekai, they were a 9-year-old girl in Europe during World War I.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like, it's actually wild. I think it's so interesting, like how well written the character is, and like they're like I think it's just I need to rewatch through this, but I apparently have to all this other stuff to get into first, you know.
It's
But
so good.
really solid pick. And like I don't know a whole lot of other people who had seen it, because like I don't know, like Isekai Quartet came out whenever like the genre started to get like super played out and saturated, and like everyone was just like, oh, I've seen Overlord, I've seen ReZero and Konosuba, but what's this? And like no one had ever like even heard of it, and like I was just like, dude, it's peak, like it's so good. Like
It really is. It's for speaking on how Vex said it's come out like 7 years ago. It looks like it's an anime that came out in the past 2 or 3 years, with how good it looks, how amazing it sounds, and the flow of it all. Oh, like the rotoscoping during fucking flight combat is chef's kiss.
but I didn't actually even consider this one on my list, but now like I wish I had thought about it, because I love a good main character that's actually the villain, which brings me actually to my next entrant, because we talked about Death Note a little bit. Now we've talked about the Saga of Tanya the Evil, but we have to talk about one of the most iconic main character villains, and that is this is gonna be light spoilers for Code Geass. We got Lelouch Lamperouge, aka Lelouch v Britannia, the 17th son, or the 17th heir to the Holy Britannian Empire. This is the absolute GOAT. This is one of the
Lelouch of the Rebellion.
One of the most interesting MCs of all
Yeah.
time, in my opinion. Like, it's
and for
insane.
those who don't know about this, also, it's Lelouch is old French. It actually means, if you translate in English, it means le him, because he is him.
He really is. And like, we're giving out quotes. I'll give a short but sweet one, but this kind of sums him up. Is it wasn't me who was wrong, it was the world. And like, the full scope of everything that goes down in Code Geass, like, it's actually insane to go from the first episode and like his backstory and stuff like that all the way to the end of season 2, like even just the end of season 1. It's actually crazy. I won't get like super in detail, but this person has methodically and meticulously, yes, Lelouch is absolutely a villain. Like, there is no question in my mind. This person sees the battlefields as a strategic, like, chessboard type of situation. He will sacrifice any number of pieces, and it starts with like an iconic scene of him like playing chess, and you see, like, you know, like, if a king doesn't lead, how does he expect like everyone to follow and stuff like that. And like, there is nothing in this world at a certain point that this villainous force is not completely willing to sacrifice. Like, it's actually insane, the heights that he climbs to in power, and the depths of darkness that he delves into to accomplish his main goal, which, spoiler alert, is straight up world domination. Like, it's actually, he is 100% a villain. And but like, every single step along the way, and like the psychology that is explored in this character, doing everything that they do, it's actually wild. And I could speak a lot more on Code Geass outside of just like Lelouch, but I really, really, really love like the whole like persona that he takes on as Zero versus like the him that he is. Like it's a character
more like
it's a
Lelouch. No, I'm joking.
Wild.
I'm sorry, someone had to make the joke.
They didn't. They really didn't though. But
I did though.
It's one of the most iconic. Like, if we're talking about like the Death Note, you know, conversation, this is absolutely something kind of goes hand in hand, in my opinion. And
what constitute a villain kind of thing?
I'm sorry, what?
I said what constitutes a villain kind of thing.
I mean, I think it's pretty cut and dry with this character. They are 100% like there's like a point in time where you're like, is this an anti-hero? And then there's like a point in time where you're like, no, this is a villain. This is absolutely a villain. And again, like a recurring theme on a lot of my list, it's a villain that isn't necessarily wrong and that you might find yourself rooting for. So I had to include them. I would be doing myself and the community a disservice if I didn't bring them up. But that's my number 7 pick. And
it's a top pick.
Yeah, he's.
I
up
don't
there.
remember Code Geass that well, but I do remember. I don't remember the whole stuff, but I remember that Lelouch was goated as a villain. So that tells a lot for me. That I still remember that at least. So yeah, it's a great pick.
Goated pick, one might say. Not me, but one. No, I'm joking.
Wild. Yeah, there's plenty of discussion as far as like people calling him a hero, an anti-hero, and a villain. And the thing is that the show is about metamorphosis. The show is about an evolution of society and a de-evolution of psychology. So all of the answers are correct. You can label him as a hero, you can label him as an anti-hero, and you can label him as a villain, and all of those shoes fit. So, but yeah, he's 100% still a villain. That's facts.
Are we going to Kube next for his number 5, or?
Kube,
No,
if you didn't mind, because some of them were kind of breezing through, and I know my next pick I'll kind of be breezing through as well. But if you don't mind, Kube, we can keep it going and skip right on to Lucas.
Yeah. What we can do is, since I did 2 at a time, if one of you guys, when it's your turn, if you think that the next one could fit with the one you're doing, you could do what I did. Sure, no worries. So awesome. I won't lie. the number 5 originally was going to be a Hunter x Hunter character, but because I cannot talk to him about spoilers, and I know Lucas has always said he wanted to, and I know some people in the chat haven't seen Hunter x Hunter, I went with another villain, and actually I'm going to go the Josh route. A villain that maybe you guys haven't read, because I know most of you didn't read the manga. It's from iShield 21. For those who have read iShield 21, my 5th villain is Agon from iShield 21. For those who've read it, so basically, to give a synopsis, it's a sports shonen about American football. But to give the idea, Agon was basically this prodigy that is born 1 in a billion. Basically like Frieza, never trains. But basically, he gets the only time that he gets like excited during a game was against the MC when they first play. And I'm telling you, it is like playing against someone like, for those who've seen him, Shikamaru, who's very lazy, Naruto, and you're fighting Kaido suddenly. It was that type of level. So for those who read it, for me, he's one of the best great villains in a sports shonen. Perfectly played, and they play very well on what does it do to a 16-year-old when you're that good, you know? A bit like the dictator type of mindset, like you're a god. And he actually talks to himself like he's a god because no one, not even adults, can hurt him. So he's my pick for number 5.
I still haven't watched or read iShield, and you keep talking about it. I think I just gotta jump in, man. It sounds amazing.
It's because I tell people it's literally, even though it's a sports shonen, it is closer the way it's written like Naruto or One Piece or Bleach, because how they write the characters. So it's weird. It's a sports shonen, but the characters are written like MCs, like from Dragon Ball.
That's how I felt about Slam Dunk. It felt like a seinen. Like it was like really dramatic, and like the sports events in Slam Dunk, you know what I mean? They're very well written and very much like a shonen battle as well. It's so well done. So that gets me excited. I definitely need to dive into iShield.
Yeah. Honestly, you'll like it.
I think so as well.
It's kind of like that same
Yeah,
kind of
sorry.
vibe that I had with martial arts stuff, is that like I've never really gotten into like a sports anime either. Like literally never. A really good friend of mine was just like, hey, I'll watch Steins Gate because I heard you love that, but you have to watch Haikyuu, and I got like 1 season in and was just like, it's all right. Like I don't know, and like I've seen a few, like there was like a basketball one where like these people had like freaking superpowers, and it gave me like Space Jam vibes, and I was like, okay, like what's going on here? I've just like, and then I've like, I don't know, I've tried and I've never really gotten into sports stuff, but I have heard from you, Kube, as well as from a few other individuals in my close circle, that iShield 21 is like super solid and goated. So I would like to check it out.
Yeah, and for the question that people have a sport shonen, sport anime, a sport manga all the time, is the problem is that there was that moment where they stop to think those kind of stuff. Luckily for you guys, the MC is like Deku for My Hero. He overthinks. So basically, when he runs, he actually thinks all the time. So it actually breaks that thing that it always bothered me in Captain Tsubasa, in some of the other ones, even the recent one, Blue Lock. It always bothers me, those moments of, you know, you stop playing for a second while you're thinking and it's not logical. In iShield 21, it's very logical because they never stop moving. They overthink all the time, which is cool. It kind of breaks that that stigma with sport and mangas back then.
Hell yeah. Well, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, honestly, it's worth it.
Next up, we got Lucas, number
Yes, and number 6 for
pick.
me.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Spoilers for JJK. I'm not gonna go too deep into this, but Sakura.
Wait. Let me just leave.
Oh yeah, if you would deafen up. Okay, now that Cube is deafened. Yeah, it's Sakuna. I'm not going to go into it very much, just with everything that has happened since Shibuya, which is the last arc that anime was in. Everything that's happened with him since then has just proven that he is one of, if not the most menacing shonen villain of all time. My man has no regard for human life or anything of that aspect at all. All he cares about is having a good time while causing as much destruction as he can. And it is such a fresh take on a shonen villain, in my opinion.
I won't speak.
Yeah, see Bushido, that's why I'm
Yeah.
avoiding it.
Yeah, I won't speak too much on this character, but I am gonna make a comparison to a character that I can't speak too much on that was stated earlier while you were deafened, Lucas. But again, like I limited my picks to only one character from each intellectual property, and I did pick a JJK character, but this was not that character because I just felt like cool moments. Really evil, you know, obviously, but I felt like backstory wise this character was lacking so much for me personally.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't gotten much of a backstory, but at the same time,
You don't need one.
with a character like
I do,
yeah, I
though.
feel like we
that's
don't really
the thing.
I see a lot of people. You do,
Yeah, I mean, I respect the pick, but because I was limiting myself to one pick from each IP, I have a different JJK pick, which I'll get into in a bit.
Yes, sir. I respect it. I respect it. All right, I'm gonna bring Kube back so that he can undeafen.
Unless Josh's next pick is also from JJK. Like,
No. Yeah,
Well-
my next. Oh, go ahead.
Never mind. Go ahead. No, you go ahead. I was gonna say somebody in chat already spoiled something for Kube, so I want to make sure we protect him for the rest of the stream.
Just
Yeah,
make sure that you remove the message. That's all. I'm not looking at the chat
Yeah.
right now, so you're good.
Yeah, spoilers for part 1 of Chainsaw Man, but my pick is Makima.
shit.
That's fair.
Yeah. Ridiculous, like such a crazy read. Like I read all of part 1 and I kind of quit because it like the show really, or like the manga really like lost its shine for me after all of the events that went down. But what a crazy character. It's like
Yeah, she basically built the life for the main character Denji just to rip it away, just to break him up, to be even a lower point than he was at the beginning of the series. Just to bring up her hero, basically, the Chainsaw Devil.
yeah, it's pretty weird. Like I honestly have so many mixed opinions on Chainsaw Man, but really
I
solid
love
pick.
it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like parts of it.
yeah, Makima basically embodying the aspect of controlling people and everything that can be used in that power for. Like it's such a well written villain, and Chainsaw Man doesn't hold your hand basically with anything.
Dude, Chainsaw Man made me want to go to the bathroom every time I watch an episode. For the right reasons.
You have no idea.
Wait.
Wait, what? Hold on. Wait, what? For the right reasons?
No, I mean, like,
Yeah, that's-
more like I wanted to vomit because of
Oh.
certain
Oh, I thought you were saying something else that involved a hand. That's all I'm
Yo.
Lucas, this seems to be your problem. I don't do that in the bathroom.
He said, "Wait, what?" Like,
yo.
no.
Neither do I. I do it in
wild.
my wife's shampoo, like a normal person. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Insane.
I
So-
heard him turn around whenever he said that. He said that to her.
Oh my god.
No.
Wild.
I'm in my laundry office.
But really solid pick. I think for me, like I was considering it, but it just missed the list, honestly, for me. But then that brings us to,
You okay, man?
are you good?
No, I was gonna say no. I was just agreeing in the sentiment. I'm not a big fan of Chainsaw Man. I made it like 26 chapters in and just was like, nah, this ain't for me.
Dude,
I see the appeal of it, but I not big on it
The
myself.
second,
Dude,
the
it
second arc
sounded
is
like-
literally the best one. Like it did sound like you were having like an epileptic episode though.
dude, it sounded like sorry to say that. It sounded like you were about to have a take, but at the same time you were puking. You were like, "Ugh."
Yeah, I was just trying to pull it into Dingy's mouth. You know what I mean? Like
Wild. So moving on as quickly as possible once again from that, we have NoChillDill. What's your number 6 pick?
All right. So, because we've already gone along the lines of, oh, well, this is from an anime and this is from this, I'm like, all right, so I'm going to I'm gonna breach the wall. I'm picking an animated feature, which is an animation movie, not a traditional anime. But he is a redeemed villain in the most recent string of movies. Tai Lung, the self-proclaimed dragon warrior.
Ain't no way.
This should be
Our
a
fight
manga
will be
piece.
legendary.
Hey, I have to put him out there because he goes through the fallacies of a true hero. He realizes that it's not him, and in the end he's like, okay, and he comes to accept it. He even respects the person who is the true hero. But in his introduction and a little bit thereafter, he was a villain. Like,
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. When you first started saying your take on it before you announced who it was, I really thought you were gonna say Ralph from Wreck-It Ralph.
Insane.
We are bad guys does not mean we
Doesn't
are bad
mean
guys.
we're bad
no?
guys. Yeah.
Bro, Gang fucking killed that speech.
I can't speak too much on I've literally only
Kung
seen
Fu Panda?
the first Kung Fu Panda. Like maybe that's a crime, you know, that I'm committing by
It
not
is.
watching more. But
It is
I've,
one of the best recent animated series from like DreamWorks. It's really good.
there's like 4 of them now. That's crazy.
Yeah, the fourth one just came out.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's why I was like, the fourth one I wasn't gonna go too in depth on, but I will say he is in the fourth one as well.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a story of like trial and error, and then whenever he finally reached to what he thought was the top of the mountain, that he got told no, and essentially is what it boiled down to. And then from there he was like, yeah, well, now it's my life's mission to be the thing you said I wasn't. And then goes through 2 decades of being trapped in essentially a cave just made to hold him there. And then
Wild. I mean, I might check it out. I've been needing something to check out, like with my nephews. So like, because he
like,
is
that's the thing,
slightly
he'll
into
be like, "Oh,
Naruto
yeah, this
and
is
slightly into
cool."
One Piece, but I think he's only seen like the first 2 Kung Fu Pandas. So I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. He'd think it's cool, and you'll be sit there engrossed by the characters. Just like for a children's movie to have such depth for characters is wild. But that's why I put him on the list, because he's one of the top tier villains for me.
Hell yeah. Next up on my list is gonna be some JJK. Like, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but I'm gonna be talking about a character that is not Sukuna. So Kube, if you wanted to mute, you can, or deafen, you can, but I'm not gonna go into much details. I'm just gonna say that the one true greatest villain, if I had to pick just one from this series, is my boy Toji. There is no other pick for me. He's him. He is like, yeah, he's absolutely top dog. If I like, because I limited myself to just one from each intellectual property. Toji is the only one I could have picked, because he's the only one I don't have any issues with. We get good backstory, we get good motivation, we get a ridiculous amount of depth, more than I think we ever get from any other JJK villain. There are really great moments from other villains. I'm not like trying to downplay any of the other main antagonistic forces. I just think that Toji is one of a kind when it comes to like a series like JJK, for us to be given so much world building through the and like literally like one of the main characters would have never even come close to, or like in the timeline that we got, to becoming what they did if it weren't for this character. the sheer insanity that unfolds when we start to figure out more about and like see like the fights this character was involved in and stuff like Toji's him. Toji's top one villain from all JJK. But
I agree to disagree, but I do love me some Toji.
bro, he's so good. Like when we're just talking
he is
about
very,
like
very well written.
yeah, when we're just talking about quality of writing, like far above every other character, like villain in my opinion. But somebody at Kube, because that's all I'll really say about that. I couldn't find a good quote from him, but yeah, that's all I got to say.
I got one for you. Hey, yo, is that my son? No, I'm joking. He doesn't say that. I'm gonna undeafen Cube now. Cube, you're good. I deafened you for that just in case.
No, you did good because I didn't hear what Vex was saying. So that, and I was muted up. I muted up and I said, I didn't hear. I just heard toe and then it got cut out. So then when you deafened me, it must have been a JJK character or something.
Yeah, but that was my number. That was my number 6 pick. Now we get back over to Cube, unless you wanted to skip on over to Lucas.
Oh no, dude, I have one. And we're going into my top 4. So like I told you, when we started by top 8, they all became number 1. But those next 4 ones, I'll say this: they could be each a kingdom in the world of villains for me, like gods in it, of how well I love them being written. So the number 4 is a villain in which I still believe, because of that villain, he's a villain for Yu Yu Hakusho. Because of that villain, he wrote a certain characters in a certain way because of him. Talking about the GOAT himself, the man that is crazier than crazy. Sensui Shinobu.
I knew you were gonna pick this. I absolutely knew. I was like, "There's no way that this guy isn't in Cube's top 5." Like, because I just know you. Yeah.
Oh, dude, the guy is such an amazing character. And for those who haven't seen Hunter x Hunter, you should check it out because I feel like there's certain characters on how they're written that you can see that the way he wrote Sensui. And I'll say this in terms of in depth. I compare to how much we got to from Sensui's motivation, closer to characters like Doflamingo from One Piece.
Yeah, because you're talking about the Black Angel himself, my man.
Yeah.
Goated pick you.
And when you get the reason of why he became a villain, you're like, oh man, that could happen to any hero. It can happen to any hero.
Yeah.
It's like it's really. Yeah.
Iconic. Absolutely iconic. Completely agree with this pick. I did not include, like, for me, I was really on the fence, but I kind of like there was a character from Hunter x Hunter that I was just like, I picked this one over this one, and like I felt like Togashi was gonna dominate my list if I didn't limit myself, you know?
Yeah, of course. And like I said, and I do like for those who, I mean, I'm gonna say it in a way that it's not a spoiler, but you know that the beginning of Hunter Yu Yu Hakusho starts with like one of the most depraved person wasn't a demon, it was a human, and I love that at the end of Sensui they brought back to that same character, like everything happened because of that one human. You guys know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Super crazy writing. Like I could literally like peel apart and analyze Yu Yu Hakusho and Hunter x Hunter like for hours. Tagashi's peak, man.
Peak man's.
So yeah, that's my pick.
Solid. Completely solid. Lucas, who you got at number 5?
At number 5, it is a character I really can't speak on too much without giving away a lot of his plot. From Kinjiki no Gash, also known as Zatch Bell, it is Zion. Zion is basically Zatch's or Gash's, whatever way you consumed the media. It is his arch nemesis. Looks almost exactly like him. Very similar power set as well. The man is just brutal. Like his way of doing things in his fight to become the king of the Momotos, the king of the demons, like it is ruthless. Definitely one of the best written shonen villains I've ever read. And
Yeah.
I truly think, what's up?
I was gonna say, like, I got kind of far into Zatchbell, like, whenever it was like airing, but I never like read beyond, and I know there's a lot more now than there ever was when I was a kid. But yeah, like one of the people whose opinions I respect the most when it comes to talking about this kind of stuff, one of my IRL friends was telling me that like this is basically like a shonen that learned from every other shonen's mistakes and like did everything right. It literally did like everything right, and I was just like, really? And he like he popped up for like an hour and told me not in any specifics, but he was just like, you know, hey, you know this in this anime that you were like, I don't know, like this does it better. Hey, you know this, and he picked apart like a bunch of shit that I love and told me how this does all of that but better. So I really should check it out.
You need to, man. I reread Gash Bell at least once a year, if not once every 2 years. It is one of my, like the last time I read it, it hit me even harder than it had ever before in certain moments. But just to get back to Zion, like I just think that he's such a well-written villain and such a well-written shonen antagonist, and the twist to his whole storyline is so wrapped up nicely with a bow, and the way that he goes is just amazing. It is just one of the if anyone here has not read, I mean, you guys have heard me talk about it for months now. Like, go check it out. I would say read it over watching it, because the anime only up till like episode 200 something is canon, and then it does its own ending to the series because the manga hadn't finished yet. So definitely check out the manga. It's only like 325 chapters or something like that.
Oh, only.
Definitely worth the read. Well, dude, with people like
I get it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's like a week. I was gonna say, that's a week read for me. Like, I get through that in like 3 or 4 days if I really try. You know, like
crazy.
But yeah, that is my number 5.
Solid from everything that I've been told and from what I've seen. So yeah, really, really solid. Josh, who you got at number 5?
Yeah, my number 5 villain has already been talked about. Is from JJK, Ryome Sukuna.
Yes, sir.
Kube already deafened up. Is there anything else you wanted to say on Sukuna specifically?
Yeah, like ever since, basically the entire plot kind of involves him and goes around him. Like chapter 1 is named after him. It's named after Ryome Sukuna, and the entire series is him doing whatever he wants. And
he's a real main character. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, yes. And also he's a perfect foil to Yuji. And also I want to talk more about his mentality. That if you are the strongest, you can do whatever you want and throw whatever you want that you don't need. And most of the characters in the series, like Gojo and Yuta, go for that mentality of the strongest. Everyone except Yuji being the one that will end Sukuna probably next chapter, but that's another story.
Wild. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, I respect the take. I just like, I feel that as far as an overarching villain, it feels like there's just like, for somebody who's had like such a long period of time to develop, we haven't really gotten anything. They've just stayed at the top and haven't been very. Yeah, but it's just like, for me, I can only appreciate a stoic character as that. And for me, a dynamic character is just kind of always going to appeal above it. But like, I get it. And like, my thing is I'm not like the pinnacle of like, you know, fighting in the verse and curse techniques. And like, I'm not like top 1. So like, not a relatable character for me either. You know what I mean? But a good character for sure.
Josh said, "He's me for real."
But like, that's like the thing is that like there's certain things that I look for in villainous character writing, and I just feel like Sukuna has fallen short for me on a couple fronts. Although he is him, I just think that it could have been fleshed out a little bit better. But that's my take. You know, I respect yours.
Is Kube good to come back?
Yeah, we're gonna push it on over to Brother Dill. Who you got at number 5?
So My number 5 pick, it goes along with the organizations, and they truly are irredeemable in a sense of what they've done, not only to the world but to the people inside of the world. I'm of course talking about the world government in One Piece.
One Piece
You know
spoilers,
what?
guys. If nobody's ever, read One Piece and you're on this channel,
Yeah,
One
for
Piece,
sure.
huge One Piece
I don't think I
spoiler.
have ever. What'd you say they were called? The government of the world? Is that what the Earth government? What is it? No.
Oh no, they're called the world government, the Allied Nations, the United Nations, if you will.
Whoa.
No, straight up world
Just
government.
said NATO. Just said fucking NATO.
Hey, I
Wild.
technically said the UN as well. But no, the world
my
government in One Piece, they're the main overarching villain. Yeah, there's other pirate crews in One Piece that are villainous to the main cast. We haven't really seen a direct force of opposition like the world government in One Piece. And yeah, you could be like, oh, well, all these other people are so much stronger. Yeah, but they aren't actively controlling the entire world. Not only that, the entire narrative that the world gets based off of information all goes through the world government. There isn't a story that goes past them until recent events, with Morgan's going directly beyond them. But even so, they had control of him for the longest because he would only post what they wanted him to.
Big news.
Big good news. But yes,
Big news.
the world government is, in my eyes, one of the biggest cases for an overarching irredeemable villain of a manga series. Because just from the truth sprinkles in that we've gotten of like the answers to what is known as the void history, and we don't even know that much of it. It's anything that the world government did has been completely rewritten and retold into a different story to where they are the good guys and not the bad guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's such a lingering threat too throughout the whole story of One Piece. Like, in my opinion, like at first, like you get the Marines and stuff with Axan Morgan and Shellstown and everything, but then by the time Ennie's lobby happens, you see exactly just how much of not only a threat but a detriment to society the world government actually is.
Yeah. I think Oda has done just a phenomenal job of like orchestrating such a faction that opposes literally all of the things that could possibly be good in the world, and how there's people who are kind of like a bit enslaved to the system, and there's people who are directly opposing it, and like there's so many different character interactions that just revolt. Like the fact that like the conversation about Kube in one of the more recent chapters is as deep as it is, and as like it speaks volumes to how well written this whole system is, and that it's been going on for such a long period of time and has only gotten deeper. It's really great. I just absolutely love Oda as a writer, and I think that this is a great pick. I kind of feel like, in a sense, it's just like picking Emu, but we don't know like how involved Emu is in all of this. So like I think it's a little bit safer because we don't have like full confirmation of everything yet to just pick the full world government as a whole. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I went for the world government, because we've been told of them pushing the narrative of rewriting history. We haven't been explicitly confirmed of, hey, Emu's the one that says this is what history you can tell. This is what I want the world to know of, because the world doesn't even know of their existence. So the only thing the world would know is, hey, the government told us that we can't talk about this and that it should be talked about it like this. Ergo, Nolan the liar.
And it's crazy to think about that as far as 400 and even 800 years ago, that this whole agenda has been like that richly executed, and that we still don't necessarily have like a full confirmation on who has been like the figurehead. Like we assume it's Emu, but and that's just absolutely crazy that something has been this well detailed and fleshed out, and you can see the entire world being molded and shaped by it, and literally just like waves hitting every single shore by this one organization, and we still don't even fully know like what's up, you know. That's crazy.
That's what I had to throw it to him for this one.
Hell yeah, brother. I
Yeah,
respect
throat
it.
them.
Wow.
Throw it to them.
Oh, okay. Not what I heard.
For my next
No,
pick,
not what you
I wanted to speak on a character from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and somebody that I know Brandon King in the chat, Time Lord, has also held in high praise. Lucas, this is going to be spoilers for part 4, but I'm not going to go
I'm
not going to go really in depth for anybody in the chat who hasn't gotten that far, but his name is Yoshikage Kira. He's 33 years old. His house is in the northeast corner of Morio, where all the villas are, and he is not married. I could read the whole copy pasta off. I'm not going to. I think that there's so much there's such a crazy execution of this villain and their ability, and like the way that like I love it. It's such a breath of fresh air after getting like Dio like you know, like multiple times. Like that's kind of like the main reason why I love this villain, is because of it's not Dio, but like I do love Dio, but at the same time I was just like, come on now. And it was for me, part 4 is near the top, one of my favorite parts in all of JoJo's, and I think that Kira is just so interesting, and he gives off like such crazy like American Psycho vibes, and like he's just like, there's so many interactions that had me completely on the edge of my seat and like biting my nails and like being like, this guy is him, and like it's so cool to see how it all played out. And like this was like something that kind of reminded me of a few other intellectual properties that I had already checked out, and like I got into JoJo's pretty late, but this was by far one of the best, in my opinion, the best antagonistic force that we've gotten, because after a certain point, some of them kind of stopped making a whole lot of sense to me, and it's just like, okay, sure, this was a character that I could completely understand and was still intrigued by. And it wasn't like, wait, what? You know, like I completely was on board 100% for everything that unfolded here. And like one of the most like visceral reactions that JoJo's has ever gotten from me is like the scene on the street. And I won't go into details, but like where like it for like 6 episodes we don't know like how this conversation is gonna end, and like my favorite character was basically like facing down the big bad solo, and like it was just crazy. It's such a ridiculous wild ride, and I loved it. I know, Josh, you're also a big JoJo's fan. How do you feel about Kira?
Like before, if we didn't have we didn't have limits for one villain per series, I probably would have Kira too. Like most of my list would be just JoJo villains.
Yeah, I could it'd be Dio 6 times. No, I'm kidding. Like, but I had to spit on, you know, that. And like I could have picked at least 2 other people from JoJo's as well, but I had to pick just the cream of the crop because I wanted to limit it to just 1 per IP. So yeah, that's my take on Yoshikage Kira. Such a phenomenal antagonist. And that's gonna be it. Somebody can @ Lucas really quickly, and we move on to Kube of the Red Sea.
So, where are my top 3? Okay, we're One Piece content creators, so it'll be very quick and simple. My third on the list is Doflamingo for One Piece. Do I have to explain why he's goated? We all know. We've seen Dressrosa. and
You
he's
think he's
basically
better than the world government?
I do. I actually do. Yeah,
his
he's
neck is better than the world
Whoa.
government. His neck is better than the world government.
Whoa.
I also have Doflamingo on my list, and so I can catch up with Kube. I'll just go ahead and check it off right now.
Sure.
Yeah, so like, but like, yeah, he's the heavenly demon. He was above the world government and fell, and like I think that the writing behind him is peak. There is such a rich backstory. One of my absolute favorite arcs. He's like another one of my favorite villains from One Piece, but like better in every way. And I absolutely love him. The fact that he's still can potentially be pivotal as soon as anybody like, you know, grabs a key and turns it, like this guy is back in like the conversation for like one of the big bads. He is so very well fleshed out, and I love the whole scene between him and Monet, and you can see like the true depths of like he is not he's not a dispassionate human being. Like he actually cares, and like it's really cool how much of this character you get to kind of see play out and throughout the full arc, and like interacting with all of the characters. It's phenomenal. I could go on for an entire stream just on Doflamingo alone.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So for me, I think Doflamingo is the one I'm not gonna go jump in, because if I have to convince you guys that why Doflamingo is such a great villain, you guys have to stop reading One Piece.
I think my favorite quote from him was, there's a lot actually, because he has such a good showing, but when he goes, the weak don't get to decide anything, not even how they die. Like just speaks to...
Wait, what did I miss while I was deafened? How did we get on Doflamingo?
Because it's Cube's next pick.
So Cube spoke
Oh, okay.
on Doflamingo, and it's also on Vex's list, so he started speaking on it as well.
Hell yeah, dude.
Just to cut down on some time, you know. Yeah, this will take one more off of my list as well. But yeah, Doflamingo, to answer your question, Dill, absolutely. I think he is a better antagonist than the entirety of the world government.
Crazy.
I think it's fair. Like Dressrosa, it could have been its own standalone series. Like, yeah, there's some context that you'd need to get like about it for it to totally make sense. But like the events that transpired there, it's insane how detailed and how like rich the backstory on so many of those forces are. And like seeing Doflamingo being such a player that evokes like a literal admiral, the second in command of the Revolutionary Army, somebody who would go on to become a Yonko, one of the supernovas turned into a warlord, like all coming in to like culminate on this one bit here, as well as a Blackbeard commander. Like it's the sheer amount of moves that this player ended up making with a heinous and chaotic smile on his face. It's crazy.
Vex. Justice will prevail, you say? But of course it will. Whoever wins this war becomes justice. Best Doflamingo quote right there. That whole speech in Marineford is just insane.
It's in my top 3 for sure.
Yeah.
And BK is also spitting in chat when he said, those who are born during peace have different ideas of right and wrong from those who are born in war and stuff like that. He is so complex. And yeah, it's a character that, like, unlike the world government, which I think and I praise it for us still being shrouded in such mystery and things like that. Like, this character is somebody who has made comparable when you scale it properly, because the world government is thousands, if not millions of individuals, like all acting, you know, semi-uniformly. This is one homie. This is one guy. And he was able to completely usurp an entire nation and like 12 years of their history and like their entire population and stuff like that. And like when you think of like when you scale it appropriately, this guy is absolutely like on that same level, but he is fully detailed out. There's almost nothing that we don't understand or know about Doflamingo.
I'm gonna say this now. The Flamingo, I do like the world government. The way he was able to get the world government to work in his direction. It is like how Kim Kardashian uses the internet. I'll just say that.
That is wild.
But yeah, he had the world government in his pocket. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm just saying, like, dude was in cahoots with the world government. Dude was in cahoots with a Yonko. You know, dude kind of had it all until Luffy came and punched the shit out of him.
Yeah, he's definitely a nepo baby.
Definitely. Special Dragon, definitely.
Yeah, definitely a nepo baby who didn't get his way one time. So no, I'm joking.
So that brings us to you.
Then?
Yeah, you're number 4 pick, I believe.
Yes, yeah. Number 4 for me is another spoiler for Don to Don. I'm not going to talk much on this character, but it is the fairy tale card. And I know that sounds weird if you haven't read Don to Don, but I'm telling you guys, one of the best Yonkos, one of the best yokai in the entire series. And the way they set him up and everything was just perfect. It was such a big twist in it. Literally, this recent arc of Don to Don has been nothing short of perfect.
Hell yeah. I feel like it's going to be a very long time before the anime gets there, but I'm hype.
It will be. Yeah.
Because, like, I tried committing to Dawn, brother. It's not for me. Like, but
that's fair.
I'm hyped for the anime, but, like, I just couldn't keep going on with the manga.
Fair. But yeah, he's definitely an antagonist. Like I said, I wish I could speak more on him. I really do, but I do not want to ruin it for anybody because even his appearance is a surprise in the manga and everything about him. Like Josh can tell you, he's really well done. He's a very threatening yokai, and which is funny because of how he looks. But yeah, that's my number 4.
Oh yeah, Josh. What you got going on?
Yeah.
What's your number 4?
Yeah, for here on out, like those top picks could go interchangeably. Like it's just how I feel about in that day when I pick them. Like my number 4 is Kaido from One Piece.
Boo this man! No, I'm joking.
Kaido for Nakama. I'm here for it.
Nah, Kaido for best villain.
I really do love the way that Kaido was set up. I think that he was a contender for absolute best villain for me. I really hope that once we get more reveals about like rocks and stuff like that, we get a little bit more of his backstory, because I was pretty let down on his. But I think that he still had a little bit more of a solid backstory than some of the other people that I've had the same complaint about on this list. So I completely respect this opinion.
Yeah, I do too. One of my favorite aspects of Kaido that not a lot of people mention is his relationship with King. He truly believed in King, and King truly believed in him. And I think it's one of the best relationships between captain and vice captain in all of One Piece.
One of my favorite things about Kaido,
for the smallest bit that we got,
is that he's gonna become a Straw Hat. That's pretty peak.
Oh my fucking god!
It's not every day that you see a villain that can become a Straw Hat. You know, it happened twice, I think, already, but like you know, third time's the charm. Rule of threes. You know.
Listen, Lin Lin became a Straw Hat ally. Just
Lucas, just okay. The Kaido one side I can understand. King gave up on Kaido's dream. Come on, man. He gave up on his dream. He gave up on his dream.
But hold on.
He was willing to try and make Kaido Joy Boy, man, and Kaido straight told King to his face, the only person that can be Joy Boy is the man who defeats me.
Dude,
and King realized that he was going to lose. Like, it's that simple.
He asked him, "You think I can still be a Joy Boy?" He said, "Keep on drinking."
Bruh. I really respect the dynamic, and I loved a lot of everything that we got.
It's a good point.
Yeah, everything that we got in Roof Piece and Ononigashima and stuff like that. Like some people complain about the pacing in Wano and stuff like that, and like read it, it's a lot better in the manga. But like I think that it's
not real.
It actually hurt me to not put Kaido on my list, because I do love him like a lot as an antagonistic and evil force, and I think that on the scale of like heinous crimes and overthrowing entire countries and and stuff like that, I do put him above Doflamingo, but I just think that there's so much more that we know about Doflamingo and understand and got detailed. But Kaido, that was my second choice, and it was very close. But for me, Doffy top one. I put Kaido very high up on my list of One Piece villains, though. So I 100% respect this pick, Josh.
I do as well.
And what I like about Kaido is just his mentality and why he fights for, why he does everything, why he does like similar to Sukuna actually, and yeah, everything to just fight and have a good time and to have to start the biggest war in the world. Like I don't.
I like when he got drunk and
think-
started crying. That was hilarious.
I think the only thing that's if you compare to Doflamingo, and I think it's not about Kaido, it's about the lack of not just his backstory but his connection to his crew as a king. Because you think about it, that's what people really like about most villains in One Piece as well. Like, what are they willing to do for their crew? You know, like think of Katakuri or Branch in Whole Cake. Think of Doflamingo and his backstory of how they all kneeled for him. And then with Kaido, the problem is that Kaido is for me, he's the better villain at any time of the day. But the problem is that since there's lack of information on his surrounding, like if you take Kaido by himself, like he's a guy since he's a kid has been burned by the world. So he doesn't care if the world burns. That's his mentality. He grew up in a war zone, so the world has to be a war. And it's so compelling as a story. But I would have loved more on stuff like Jack or Queen. King is great, but Jack or think of Queen, you know?
Queen's my favorite.
My
favorite Beast Kingdom pirate. I love him.
Yeah. The Toby Ruffle. Think about what the Toby Ruffle wanted to do. Ulti, page 1. They started just with Ulti, page 1. Their fathers was in the crew of Kaido. Nothing more of it.
Yeah, for Kaido, it's more everything around he's more implied than showed, and I think that's a good story choice than just explaining everything. Like you understand why he has the crew he has.
From the moment he's introduced in the intellectual property, when homie just jumps off of like balloon terminal and like he just completely disregards all of these supernovas who are supposed to be like big shots, and then the narrator's just like, when it's one-on-one, always bet on Kaido.
Always bet on Kaido.
That is one of the sickest villainous intros that anime or manga has ever gotten, aside from another one we've talked about already that I don't want to spoil. Like, it's up there. It's very much up there. You know what I mean? I love it. He's really solid. Amazing pick, Josh. Hell yeah. Dill, we got your number 4 pick.
Yeah, and mine is spoilers for Soul Leader specifically.
Yeah, I'm good. Okay, I'm good.
For reference, it's not both series. It's just a one. But you've already deafened.
No, he said he's good.
Oh, okay.
I'm good. I said I'm good. No worry. I read him a while back.
Asura, also known as the Kishin, also known as Kishin Asura.
Hell yeah, brother.
And
respect.
No, there's no H.
There's not, and normally it's fine, but just everyone just knows it as the Kishin. Like, but I respect the shit out of this pick. Hell yeah.
So I'm gonna read his quote, and I could speed read this quote. It's a minute long whenever he gives it. I'm not gonna take a minute on it. Sitting there in the dark, I had the chance to think about a lot of things, including the nature of the world itself, and after lengthy consideration, I realized something. When all is said and done, this world is an unknowable place. On the surface, all appears rational, orderly, but what lies beyond the thin veneer of reason, stability and reality, or chaos and madness? What are we really made of in the end? Is there truly any meaning to the lives we lead, or are we nothing more than hollow vessels? These are questions we can never answer because we cannot hope to see beyond the world's fragile layer of skin. So we live our lives filled with uncertainty, never knowing who or what we truly are or what the future will bring. All we can do is imagine. Life becomes an unsolvable mystery with any number of twists and turns awaiting us, and that's enough to fill any soul with terror.
Hell yeah. I think the best feat for this character is just the simple fact that the top one of the verse recognized this person as a threat and formidable. When Excalibur said, "Oh man, this is getting real," you know, I knew shit was hitting the
Did you
fan.
just call Excalibur the top one in the verse, bro?
Rightfully
Yes,
so.
you did.
He said rightfully so.
Fools.
You fool.
Fools. Yeah, tell name one person who's above him. I dare you.
Arthur.
Arthur redacted.
Yeah, Arthur.
The one who wields Excalibur.
But I think it's actually crazy, like how deep, you know, like that like little monologue went. I have with it. I haven't seen Soul Eater in such a long time now, but yeah, it definitely left a lasting impression on me. Solid pick.
Yeah, and also with
Oh, yeah.
Solitaire, like, just Tokubo knows how to draw a splash pages about that. Like, at the end of the series, like before the fight with him, like we just got pages of just black and just a sound, like knowing that he comes.
Yeah, it's
Like
pretty
we
sick.
got like four double page spreads of just nothing, and then his face taking on the entire double page spread.
Menacing.
Aura. That's what we're looking for
Absolutely.
here.
Yeah, absolutely. But I fully respect it, and I didn't even think to put it on my list, but really, really, really solid pick. It's crazy to me that y'all don't think that Excalibur is top one in the verse, though. I mean, clearly.
Fools.
Fools.
But yeah, I doubled up on Doflamingo, so my now we're in my top 3, and I'll keep this one pretty brief. But I guess if you haven't gotten to like season 4 of the My Hero anime, spoilers, I was absolutely going to put Overhaul on my list, and then I remembered that
Let's go.
there's a better villain in that same season, and that is my boy Tobita Danjiro, Gentle himself, the best villain in my opinion in all of My Hero. I won't go too in depth, but I will say one quote and then go into like just a light bit, but I'm not going to try and spoil anything. But easily the best season is season 4, in my opinion. And when homie said, "My dream would be trifling indeed if your words could move me to abandon my course," I felt that. The stakes were the lowest I think they had ever been, but this was still peak. Like seeing him be almost like a perfect foil like for Deku, it's actually insane. Like I love how like Horikoshi literally like wrote like what the darkest timeline version would be, and like I think it's so interesting, and I really like his backstory. Homie's a YouTuber. I got mad respect for that. You know, that hustle,
Yeah.
obviously.
Same.
And I think that like his interactions with Labrava are peak, and like I really love this character. Probably
Sorry,
yeah.
some shit happens with him in the last arc, and I can't say anything about it.
I know. No, I already know, but we won't go into spoilers.
Goated.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
goated though. Yeah.
One of the singular, like probably the most memorable character in my opinion from everything that My Hero has ever given us, and that's who I had to put in my top 10. And if you don't know, definitely check out season 4. Season 4 is the most goated part in my opinion of all of My Hero. It's so good. Going from like all the overhaul stuff, because I really was gonna put Chisaki on my list, but then I was just like, no way, like shit.
Yeah, Chisaki almost made my list as well, but
Yeah.
like you said, I wanted to keep mine only one per series because Chisaki is just overhaul as a villain, a concept even. It's just
Phenomenal.
brutal.
Phenomenal,
yeah.
But I still put Gentle at top 1, bro. And again, it's a villain that you're like, they're not wrong, and I'm kind of rooting for them. It's been a whole thing on my list
Yeah,
for the most
I
part.
didn't even see him as like a villain, if I'm being honest. Like he was just slightly misguided in the way he did things.
This is the loosest like definition, but like definitively in the actual verse of My Hero, there are heroes and villains, and he is a villain. So that's the only reason he's on this list instead of Chisaki, is because he is literally titled a villain. But yeah, that's gonna be my now we're in my top 3 now, guys. That's how much I respect that character. So we're gonna move it on over to Kube.
So, wait, am I muted? No, I'm perfect.
No, you're good.
So my top 2 obviously is my favorite. It's one of my favorite villains of all time. I've always talked to him because I've said this. He was the last villain in which, in the story in Dragon Ball, you really felt because of him that they were all going to fail. I'm talking about the GOAT, the one that has the best DNA of all the greatest warriors. Cell. I'll say this to this day.
Yeah,
Frieza
Jirobe. No.
Frieza scared the world because he showed them that they failed at protecting Namek. But with Cell, they found out that in the future they were defeated, and then they realized Cell is a bigger badass, and he's supposed to, and everything. And when I was a kid, I say that I really felt that Cell could have won. It would have been the end of Dragon Ball. Because back then we didn't even get the announcement of Dragon Ball that there could be another season after Dragon Ball the Cell games. So we thought it would be the end.
Yeah.
So that's why I put him as number 2, because I remember as a kid, I really thought that Goku and his story and it would be over.
Dude, it is
because of Cell.
It's the absolute craziest thing in the world to spend so much time on Frieza and making like Vegeta himself look like Raditz looked obsolete comparatively to Vegeta, and then Vegeta was like scared shitless of Frieza, and then we see Frieza get chopped to bits by somebody who's scared shitless of androids, and then we see the androids themselves scared shitless of a whole nother, and I'm just like, this is the craziest lifting of the ceiling that I think we've ever seen in shonen. Like it's enormous, like the power creeping, that we get all the way up to the Cell games. It's really insane.
Yes, sir.
And also the thing that scares of the Cell is that, think of it, right? Cell's whole point is the opposite of what Trunks wanted. Trunks wanted to get rid of the androids, and Cell wanted those androids. And just it happenstance for Cell that the one thing happened. He happened to be born in a timeline where Trunks defeated them. And that's why I say it's so beautifully written, the whole Cell storyline in Dragon Ball Z. So well written.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite part of all of Dragon Ball in general, like over pretty much all of Dragon Ball, all of other Dragon Ball Z, and over anything I've seen in Super. The Cell saga was, for me, like the ultimate like arc. Like I'm a sucker for a good tournament arc, like I said, and like, man, we just got such and Gohan has been my favorite character in that verse for a very long time.
Yeah, and I do like, and I've always said that usually the twist I really liked about the whole Cell thing is how he got perfect, and he used his DNA of Vegeta to manipulate. And it's like I said that in terms of defeats for Vegeta, I think this is the worst one, because Vegeta could have defeated him, and he played on his ego. And if you look back, you could see Cell could talk the way he's talked to Vegeta, because he's the same way as Vegeta. And it's so beautiful. Like literally Vegeta let him. Vegeta is one of the reasons why they had the issue they had. And it is all a mind game. No physical attack, no trickery. He just spoke to him on his ego.
Yeah, legitimately.
He didn't even lie. He didn't even lie. He just told him.
Yep. Vegeta's ego and hubris is what caused Cell to become perfect.
Yeah. And like that's the thing. And if you think of what he said to Vegeta, he didn't even lie to him. He said, "Oh, you could defeat me now, but you'll know you never beat me at my best." That's all he needed. And then Vegeta got lost. And so I said, "You know what? Go perfect, so I could prove it to you." It's like, if you think about it, it is the best. It's like the best poker move. Straight and simple. Don't have to overwork. And you're like,
I think,
dude,
for me,
he is that smart.
Yeah, for me though, it did kind of fall apart in the end when Goku was just like, "Here's a sensu bean." I was like, "You gotta be kidding me!
Sensu bean!
You gotta be kidding me right now!"
Fight
like,
him, 12-year-old son.
Yeah, when you want to talk about like hubris prolonging like the strength of a villain, like Vegeta done goofed, but then there's Goku, you know. Like that was what was crazy to me, but it did give us one of the coolest like beam clashes we've ever seen, and I absolutely love the Cell Saga. It's so good. Crazy though that Hercule, Mr. Satan, had to come in and actually do the defeating because none of the Z fighters were
wild.
Yeah, absolutely insane. You know, they had to pull out the big guns. But excellent pick. I know that Brandon King in the chat had Cell on his top 10 list as well, a little bit higher, lower down in the rankings, but really good pick. I think that moves us on over to Lucas.
Yes, it does. So my next 3 picks, these are definitive, guys. These are my top 3 villains of all time. Like anytime I've ever done a list even before this, these were my picks, except for my 3rd, because he's a newer entry for me, because I just read the series he's from. And this is spoilers for Monster. For anyone who has not read that, my number 3 pick is Johan. Legitimately, if I did not love, or I don't want to say love because they're villains, if I did not enjoy the 2 characters that are above him more, I would have put him at number 1. Johan.
Wait, can you repeat the name?
Johan. Or Johan, however you want to say it.
I thought he said Gohan. I was gonna say, dude, are you okay?
It was Gohan all this time. No, but Johan, he literally is a perfectly written villain, and it comes back to that thing I was saying about Shigaraki, is that nurture over nature. You know what I mean? How does that affect somebody? And Vex, you were going on and on about Lil Slugger and Paranoia Agent. Same vibes from Johan. It is eerie how good of a villain he is and how well written he is. I don't even know what to say without spoiling anything. Just, if you don't know, Monster's synopsis is that a brain surgeon saves a little boy's life, and then that little boy becomes a serial killer, and he has to stop him. That's the whole synopsis. That is what you'll find online if you look up what it's about. When I tell you, like, if anyone here has watched the show Pluto on Netflix, same mangaka.
Yeah,
so you know, those grunting sounds, keep it to yourself. They're very suspicious, man.
Yeah. I'm just saying, Johan, peak villain. Peak villain.
I did a lot of research, as I always do. Like, I had my list pretty solidified, but I just kind of read the field and looked around at some of the stuff, like all the articles and like ranking lists and stuff like that, like across the community and stuff. And yeah, I don't know anything about Monster, and you did not spoil me at all. Thank you. But based off the synopsis, it sounds very interesting. But this person was almost unanimously in every single top 10 that I saw online. Yeah, so it is
insane how well written.
Yeah, the consensus it backs you. This is I think this is like a legitimate objective take. You know what I mean? Like, for sure.
Well,
but I don't
like
know
I said,
from firsthand.
I recently finished the manga, like literally, like maybe 2 weeks ago, and he's so well written. Like I said, if I didn't enjoy the writing of the 2 characters I have in front of him more, he would have been my number 1, like hands down, because it was just perfect.
There are people.
Minute detail.
There are a number of people online who put them as their number 1. So yeah,
completely worth it.
Yeah, that brought me up on like the Monster stocks are way up there. I've got to check it out, and I know you as well as Dyer have like told me to check it out, and I respect y'all's opinions massively. So without me really even knowing, like the community knows that's a goated pick.
Yes.
Hell yeah. Brings us to Josh.
Yeah, my next pick is just 2 characters from the same series that I can talk about one without talking about the others. Is Dr. Zeno and Stanley from Dr. Stone.
Okay, spoilers, good pick.
Yeah, spoilers beyond the anime, spoilers in the manga. Like, for context, those 2 are the reason I keep going back and reading Dr. Stone. Like, their story and their conflict with the main character is just one of the best things I've ever read. Like, pretty much the main characters had to completely get massacred to win. Basically, that's the thing I want to say. I don't want to spoil too much because I want to get you guys into it.
Yeah, I don't know too much more about, like, I got to like the Stone Wars in the manga back like after season 1 came out. But I completely dropped Dr. Stone a long time ago, and I don't even know where the anime is at right now. But it's really interesting, and I really liked, you know, like that there was like this level of intrigue, and I'm only assuming that like what you're referring to is like endgame shit, right?
The arc before the end.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I might have to get back into it because I did enjoy a lot of it. It's just like there's a lot going on in my life at that point in time. I dropped a lot of series at that point in time. It wasn't anything specifically like that Dr. Stone like put me off on or anything. I actually really liked it, so I'll have to pick it back up for sure.
Yeah, just like for context, like Stanley is a US soldier and his team, like, and at one point the main cast kidnaps Dr. Zeno, and Stanley has to go after them. A quote from Zeno is, "What you must know about Stanley is that in order to rescue his general, he will not hesitate to slaughter everyone. Ethics and morals do not come into play because he simply his job as a soldier."
Shit. Sounds kind of brutal. Yeah.
It is, brother.
Well, hype. I'm looking forward to whenever I can get back into that. Gachakuda's ahead of it on my list as far as manga. I don't know if the anime has gotten anywhere near that point, but if it has, let me know, I guess, because that'll be easier. Okay, cool. Yeah, well, if the anime gets there before I end up getting back to the manga, let me know. But yeah, that's really hype. Then we got Dill. We're entering into your top 3, right?
All right, yeah. So even though I have never read, yes, I know this is about to be a slanderous statement from me. I have never read or watched any Berserk. I can still make this comment to
Yikes.
say. I can still make this comment to say my number 3 pick is, without going too far into spoiler content, God Hand. The group.
You just picking groups, just like full groups.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're a villain group. I get it. That's what I've been going with since Team Galactic, then the world government.
Do not invoke their name.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Is I'm trying not to go like too far into it, and it gets bad. You cannot tell me that they aren't a top tier group of villains.
They are.
Wild. Yeah, I respect it. Lucas is over here trembling like
he's triggered.
I am. Yeah, I am.
His tattoo's burning.
Yikes.
It is.
Wait. I have just one question. We're at your guys' 3rd pick?
Yes. Well,
you have one advance on me. So I have one advance on you guys. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll skip over them.
I'm tied with you, Kube. You've been ahead since like your 7th and 6th picks that you lumped together, remember?
Yeah. True.
But
that's why, because I was listening to yours. That's why I was a bit confused. That's why, because you also had the same number as me.
Yeah, but I only got about like 90 chapters into Berserk, and it's something that is also on my list because so many of my absolute best friends and a whole bunch of goats in the community have told me that I need to pick it back up. But man, it's just a tough read for me because I'm not really into so much of what Berserk goes into.
Vex, I don't know if you're a religious person or not, but if you want to get into the gates of heaven, don't read Berserk. You'll be disavowed. God will tell you, no, dude, you're going down, dude. You're gonna be with the people who like Griffin.
Oh my goodness, wild. But so I can't speak too much on Berserk as a whole, but from what I've read, yeah, shit gets crazy, like really crazy, like really crazy. Man.
For someone who's seen moments of Berserk because of friends who just, and I said that I have a friend who I consider he's a psychopath because the way he read Berserk is like someone reading his newspaper on a Sunday, and there were some scenes that were like, dude, I can watch that so much. I'm just used to it. For someone who's never, but has just been secondhand interaction with people, yeah, berserk gets really dark.
Yeah. Anybody else have
Josh, look at the GIF
anything?
in chat.
Anybody else have anything they want to say on this before we get to my number 2 pick?
How dare you, Dill?
Okay, so
I've never seen it. That just goes to show how much of an impact they've made outside of the community.
It's like Vex said with Johan, whatever, however you want to pronounce it. It speaks levels and volumes that you would even choose them for your top villain pick when you haven't read the source material or watched it. It's because of how wide their reach is.
Yeah, exactly.
huge. My next one
Huge.
is a bit of a sleeper pick. I don't know a lot of people who have watched or like read this, but it's something that is absolutely goated, and has a lot less like anime tropes than a lot of other like very popular anime. And like but my pick is actually Accelerator from a certain scientific railgun. It's a shared universe thing where there's actual multiple shows. So there's a certain magical index and a certain scientific railgun, and there's even a third show that all take place in the same shared universe. And this society is kind of they're in a place called Academy City, which is basically like a city made of a bunch of schools where a bunch of like the power system is founded in science. And through like having such an innate understanding of like certain concepts, there are individuals who are able to basically like quantumly unlock superpowers, and they're called espers. So there's like science-based superpowers, almost like quirks in My Hero, and then there's also a whole underworld magic society,
like psychics, right? Espers like psychics.
Yes.
Right?
So their
Okay.
their superpowers are entirely based in science and like realism, and like the more you actually study into like what your like Esper ability like entails, the stronger you can get and push it to its fullest potential. And that's like what the overarching like system of the world is. This is something that's very well known, like on the level of like quirks in My Hero, how there's like people like almost everybody has like there's a ton of espers, and you are ranked in tiers. There's like level 1 espers, which are like basic harmless powers that can't really do too much. Like there's a character who can just like thermoregulate slightly, so she can make things a little bit colder or a little bit warmer. That's her whole superpower, and it's not like that strong. And so she's like a level 1. Then there's characters that are like weapons of mass destructions incarnate. And that's a level 5. And the main character of Railgun is Makoto Misaka, and she is the 3rd strongest Esper in all of Academy City. She is basically top 3 in the verse, undisputably, and recognized by pretty much the entire world. She is an insanely cool like character study, and I really do vibe with her and a lot of the supporting cast and stuff like that. And the antagonistic force for much of the first 2 seasons, and like because there's multiple shows here, he's actually shown in the like a completely other show that's tied in and like interwoven into this verse as well, a certain magical index where magic is also a power system outside of science, but like nobody believes in magic actually exists except for this like under society, and it's really cool. But the antagonistic force is Accelerator, and he is the number 1 strongest Esper in all of Academy City. He's absolute sheer force of nature, on par with like the strongest anime characters you've probably ever seen. For him just being like a dude, just like a normal human, the sheer computative abilities of this individual and utilizing of his Esper ability is insane. His ability is that he can reverse vectors, and that is such a broad scope. like with his archaic knowledge and like ridiculous ability to calculate things like so quickly, he is basically like Superman. He can do like anything. Like, dude can look at you and choose to reverse the flow of blood in your body and make you explode on the spot. Dude can reverse like the trajectory of missiles and like laser beams and shit like that. Like, as a 7-year-old boy, he doesn't have like a great control of his Esper ability and is put in a terrible situation and goes out of control. And they literally have to call in an entire nation's army, and the entire nation's army loses. He is like an absolute like unit when it comes to like what the ceiling looks like. And he is labeled from such a young age as literally a weapon of mass destruction. He's put on a pedestal as the strongest, but he's also put in a cage and is limited, and he can't do certain things. And like society as a whole has accepted that if this person were to go full crash out, like this could be like world ending. And so he is like completely smothered by not only these expectations but the limitations, and he goes full Batman villain. And one of my favorite quotes from him is I strive for something beyond the strongest, that challenging me would be the most ridiculous thing, fighting me would be a sin. And he lets himself become an instrument to these like evil mastermind figures in the background, in order for him to effectively attempt to claim godhood. And it's so crazy.
I won't lie. You have to be a different type of him to say fighting me is like committing a sin.
Yeah, it's insane. And what's even more insane is that this the way that like this antagonistic arc is like fully dealt with is so subverting of what you could imagine from like the pictures that I've just painted you. And like this character is so deep and is so like well written that they give him his own show. The third show in the shared universe, the third anime, is called A Certain Scientific Accelerator. So he literally becomes his own protagonist in a completely different like capacity. And you see like a full flip side of like his mentality after he understands the terrible things that he's done. And we get another quote from him, which is, the kind of person who can take up arms without hesitation and shoot down a villain is no better than the villain himself. And I think that like the sheer amount of depth and the full character arc of this individual is almost unlike anything else I've ever seen. On a list full of like, you know, understandable villains, some who just like, you know, had like a mixed up means. This is actually like a child who was failing to kind of understand himself and made mistakes. And like the sheer development that he goes through is insane. 100% absolutely recommend the entire like Rail Dex shared universe. It's so good. And that guy's straight top one.
Yeah, sorry, I'm so. I legitimately have. I don't think I've ever even heard of that series, so I'm definitely gonna have to check it out.
It's 3 different series that all take place in the same like universe, and they share characters and stuff. So like it's really cool because like in season like 3 of Index, you see like crossover events from season 2 of Railgun, and then also season 1 of Accelerator. And so like they're all happening on different timelines in the same place with the same characters. And it's so awesome. Well written, like how this all plays out.
Well, hell yeah.
Yeah.
But highly, highly,
was that
highly
your number
recommend.
1?
No, it was my number 2. It's close though. It's very close though. Yeah. I this guy is insanely goated. But yeah, now that brings us to Kube.
Okay, so my number 1 pick is actually, it makes so much sense why he's the number 1 villain, because he doesn't actually fit the manga anime, but the franchise he's part of might be Western, but it's people always compare it as an anime. And it's from the Avatar series. And I am going to just give a quote. So I felt it was so compelling that my first villain might not have been, fit the criteria. It's very villain-like. So here's the quote. For those who knows will know who that person is. When you base your expectation on only what you see, you blind yourself to the possibility of a new reality. And to end that, I will also say, have you guys ever heard of the great Guru Lahima? Yes, I'm talking about the goat himself, Zaire from the Legend of Korra. He's my number 1 pick. I'll say this. He's what Vex's been saying the whole time about villains. He's the one villain which I wouldn't have been upset if he succeeded season 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a solid pick. Like, I knew you were going to include this one as well. I knew for sure this was going to be top 3 for you. I was like, he's going to do it. Like, I've known you for like over a year now, Cube, and we've talked so much. I knew this would be in your list.
Yeah,
Dude,
so did I.
Zaire, I'm sorry. Since the first, even after his defeat, spoiler alert for those who haven't finished Korra, I tried it, didn't work. So now I'm going to help you out. Like that level of commitment, like he actually had no actual hate to his heart. He just believed at it so full-heartedly. He's a bit, for me, I was compared to that is if the flamingo had real compassion in his eyes when he did his thing, except being a psychopath. Like he's the opposite. He might have a lot of heart for it. It's just he sees the world such in a warped way that for him, that's a normal way. I have to get rid of that. If you're in front of me, I will have to kill you. But so step aside, okay? Then I'm sorry. I will mourn you, but I have to take you out. Like, dude, that's such an amazing character. Like, there was never a moment with Zaire where I said, "Oh, screw that guy. Oh, I would have preferred he done that." No, everything I said, okay, makes sense. I mean, I don't agree with it. But
Yeah,
dude,
legitimately makes sense. Yeah, I felt the same way. I hate when people trash Korra because in my opinion, has better villains than.
Dude, definitely.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Just remove Wunderlock. Remove Wunderlock, and all of them are goated.
No, I think it's also really, really great writing to something with such big shoes as like Avatar: The Last Airbender, like the first like 3 books and stuff like that. Something that is like such a tyrant of like Western animation media and stuff like that. Like and like was just like generationally recognized as greatness in and of itself. To kind of spin that and be like, oh, there's another airbender and he's also him, you know, like it was really ballsy and I think it really paid off. It's so good.
And him being able to fly, bro. Like him unlocking the technique that was lost to the airbenders as a whole race. Because he was able to let go of all of his worldly possestions. Like, it's just insane. And then what he did to the Earth Queen as well, no spoilers, but like what he did to her, like terrifying. Peak use of airbending.
No, and also if you think about this, right? Remember Aang in his adventure? Because Aang had just air. He needs to get earth. He needs to get water. Dude, if you think of because of Zaire, you should have said the fact that he already had air and he was a master of air Aang. He had a cheat code because how Zaire used air bending. It just happened that the avatar in question for air bending was a pacifist. Like the one mentality where Zaire wasn't. Zaire was everything but a pacifist. And so like it makes me think of what if Aang could have done with his airbending if he was like Korra.
Yeah, it was the full foil, like if Aang were an extremist like that, like and went full crash out, which we almost saw from Aang, but he was like, there was a moment where his like morals and ethics were like teetering and he was pulled back to it. And like, there were moments where Aang was like, I could give it all up. And so, no, this is literally what was on the other side of that dilemma. And it's menacing. It's really well written. I respect this entirely. Solid pick.
Oh yeah, man, dude, like, Zaire. And dude, I just feel bad for the guards. It just happened that they had to, the one person in that world who got airbending is the one person who basically idolized him for like 40 years of his life. It's like it just happened that it's like someone idolizing Michael Jordan and he's getting powers of a basketball god. And you're like, oh, dude. You're so bad. He learned all the techniques without having the airbending style. Now he's just... Dude, the first second, remember? How he got up? Dude, those are master of each of the element. He put them in the gel cell in 2 seconds.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
it was insane.
Yeah, sorry. Such a great villain. Such a great villain.
Such a good villain. Yeah, such a good villain. Top peak pick, brother. Peak pick.
So yeah, it's finished for me. So I can't wait to hear all of yours now.
Let's go.
What's up for you guys?
Lucas.
I have to dip soon. So I'm going to give my last two right here, right now. For number two, the number two spot, I think you guys all saw this coming. Number two, the best written villain in all of One Piece, has some of the greatest powers, has one of the best devil fruit, if not the best devil fruit in the entire series, has one of the most tragic backstories, and is just brutal for the sake of being brutal, because who is going to stop her? Big Mom.
Boggy. Oh my bad.
Bro, I literally thought that's what you were building up to, but then I remembered it's you.
But then,
Yeah,
No,
Big
I
Mom.
respect
I
it.
mean, she
Yeah.
is my favorite Yonko for a reason. I think her backstory is just tragic enough with enough. I don't know the correct word to say here, but like, it's almost disgust, right? Like, you feel bad for her, but at the same time, it's like you just ate a whole fucking school of children and your adoptive mother. Like,
actually,
it's horror.
I have a great analogy of how you feel about Big Mom's backstory. It's a bit like Luna Lovegood in Harry Potter, who gets bullied, but is so oblivious to the bullying. Because you think about it, you feel it, but you realize Lily never saw that she was an abusive environment until the end.
Exactly.
And it means that after, it just disappeared for her.
There's a lot of backstories in One Piece that like honestly like evoke such emotions from me, and like Law's backstory, Kuma's backstory, like so many goated backstories, but like Big Mom's backstory was actually gut wrenching for me.
Yep.
I was just,
you
I was like,
said it
I
earlier.
might be sick. Like I was like, this is fucked.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. The scene of her eating, But you guys said it earlier, in a one-on-one, always bet on Kaido. Well, Big Mom beat Kaido in a one-on-one. Like, there's no other way around it. And it took 2 supernovas with awakened devil fruits to take down Big Mom and Onigashima. And we still don't know if she's completely defeated. Like,
yeah.
just peak villain. I hope to God she returns in Elbaf or an arc afterwards. Like, I really do. I want her to come back as not an ally to the Straw Hats, but not an enemy anymore.
Don't worry, keep an eye on Vivi. She said it. She's first going after Luffy, then Morgans. She said she's going after Morgans. She's coming back, man.
I think that it's really interesting too. A lot of people are pretty divided or sold on the fact that they don't like the whole amnesia bit in part 2 of Wano. I think that's one of the best parts of her story. It's literally so good.
Same.
Like, I don't know where people like get that take that it's not like actually really, really solid writing, but seeing Olin and like the way that she interacted with Otama and like some of the Straw Hats was like, it was actually so well done. I loved it.
Exactly. And then for my number 1, this villain is legitimately the worst of the worst. I don't think there will be anyone in manga who can outdo him when it comes to
we know who it is. We know who it is.
Who do you guys think it is?
Griffith
from Berserk, because you
It's
haven't dropped a
fucking
Berserk
Griffith.
character yet.
Yes, it
You haven't dropped
is.
Berserk character, so I knew it was Griffith.
Sacrifice. I know. I feel like Josh is gonna spit on him later, so I won't take all of it. But legitimately,
spit.
he said spit. Killed all of his fucking friends. Sacrificed everything in his life just to gain power. There's no way to describe it, and it's so fucking tragic too. The way it comes about, the way it's done.
I quit
just to
reading
get that power.
I quit reading because of Griffith. I was
The
like,
Eclipse.
Can't do it. Do it. Like, nope. Too fucked up.
Everyone's always like, oh yeah, Griffith is like, because of the events of the eclipse, the events of the eclipse, there's so much. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't read Berserk.
Some shit that happens beyond, and I was just like, not going to do it. I will try to get back into Berserk, but fuck, dude, it's such an uphill battle for me.
There's a chapter. Just to give you guys a little taste, there's a chapter in Berserk, in recent chapters as well, one of the last chapters that Miura ever wrote before he tragically passed away, where Griffith did something to the point where I had to get up out of bed, go outside to my car, and punch my steering wheel because of how upset I was. Like, Griffith, there's no one in modern fiction or even past fiction for me who will ever encapsulate the hate that I feel for Griffith. All I want is for Guts to have the happy ending that he deserves.
Huge.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, huge.
should give
But
up
yeah,
on
I
that.
have to go, guys. I do.
Yeah, peace.
You guys enjoy the rest of the stream. I will catch your top picks later. Yeah, have a good one. I'll
Peace,
see
bro.
you when the next dawn comes.
Hell yeah. Take it easy,
Yeah,
man.
hell yeah, man.
Thankfully, we don't have too much more to get into. That brings us right along to Josh.
Yeah, my number 2 pick was also Griffith, so I'm not gonna. So I'm gonna say my number 1 pick back to back, and also I have a number 0 pick that's gonna come later at the end.
So you wanna? Do you have anything else you want to say on Griffith or no?
Not much that haven't been said. Like Lucas put it perfectly.
Hell yeah, then. Like, and you. So we're moving on to Dill then. Is that correct?
No, I said I want to tell my.
Oh,
Yeah, he
okay,
wants us
yeah,
to give
go
his
for it.
number 1. Yeah, number 1, and then the
Go
0
for it. My
afterwards.
bad. I was misunderstanding. Go for it then.
So when it comes to JoJo villains, all of them are great, and everyone has their preferred one. And my favorite one is Fanny Valentine
Hell yeah.
from the best part
Yeah.
of JoJo. Like to have the president of America as the main villain.
That is pretty crazy. Yeah. I have recently committed to finishing Steel Ball Run, and it feels like a fever dream to me. But yeah, it's before part 2 was my favorite. Now part 7's top 1. It's absolutely the best thing that JoJo's has ever done.
And yeah, how he interacts with the other characters, how he foils the main guides, also his power, being broken, and also his speech about how picking a napkin first makes everyone pick after you. Like, yeah, he's the perfect villain for a perfect part of JoJo.
I honestly can't wait. Because we are going to be getting sooner rather than later the animation for it. I don't think we have a release date, but it's like in works, right?
Yeah, it's in production.
Hell yeah. I'm so hyped for that because I really do love part 7 so much. Goated. Not I don't want to like, because that's such an interesting like setup and like payoff and everything. But yeah, if you guys have not checked out Steel Ball Run, highly recommend it. It's really, really goated. And then so that's Josh's list completed. Is that correct?
No, I have one more.
He has a 0 pick.
Oh,
later.
okay, a 0 pick. Got you. So that brings us to Dill then.
Yeah. So this is again in the same vein of Tanya being the MC, but also being heavily considered to be a villain. Is why I couldn't promise not to do the multiple from the same series, because as much as I love Jason as a villain, Kaneki himself is also a villain. And it's all set up through circumstance, and I got the quote that it sums it up essentially to a T. Is I'm not the protagonist of a novel or anything. I'm just a college student who likes to read, like you could find anywhere. But if for argument's sake, you were to write a story with me in the lead role, it would certainly be a tragedy.
Shit, that's edgy as hell. But I respect it. Like,
This dude who went through his entire life before the events of the story, living a tragedy already, and then it got amplified as soon as the story started taking place because of the events of the world, which he became a villain in the eyes of the world because the world is humans trying to eliminate ghouls, but he became a human that became a ghoul. And his entire beginning part of that was him struggling with that, and then beyond that, it was him trying to prove not only to himself but to the rest of all of the other alliances that he had made that, hey, I have to be the one that ends all of this. And it fully culminates with who I was considering putting in this spot of Arima, I think is what his name is. Yeah. I was going to put him in this spot because he is also a top contender for a major villain of Tokyo Ghoul, but it fell down to Kaneki because he's just a victim of circumstances why he's a villain.
Shit. Yeah, I mean, like I've already said, I gotta check out Tokyo Ghoul after this. Is on my list. Just selling me even more on it, brother. But I can't really add anything to the conversation because I really all I've seen is like there's like some AMVs and like some like wallpapers and stuff like when you search like, because like I said, I looked up the whole field and stuff, and it seems to be a very respected take that homie is absolutely a villain. So the community also has your back on that from my field research, just like what I said about when Lucas picked Johan.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So that brings me to my top pick. And again, my list was kind of in no particular order, but this was one that I knew if nobody else said it, I was going to save for absolutely the end because you saved the best for last. And this is my pick from Hunter x Hunter. If you have not seen the Chimera Ant arc, there will be a little bit of spoilers here, but the absolute like peak of anime antagonists, emphasis on the ant, for me is the Chimera Ant King, Meruem. When the queen said his name means the light that illuminates all, I instantly knew we were about to see absolute peak, and like the whole first half of the arc sets up this person like and their dramatic entrance, and you get to see through their full beginning and all the way through their progression. It's absolutely insane how many different like mentalities are adopted, and the sheer malleability of this person's mindset and tactics and execution, and the absolute pinnacle of character development, in my opinion, throughout like so many different like learning experiences. This person takes away the absolute best they can to better themselves from being a blank slate that only knew certain things through instinct and whatnot, and overcame that instinct to become a completely different type of character. 100% the biggest threat to Meruem ever was themselves. And obviously, I won't go into direct spoilers, but the bottomless malice within the human heart was also like a huge threat to their existence. But this was a character, like much of the rest of my list, at a certain point in the arc, you're like, they're not wrong. A quote that I absolutely love from them is, in the hands of the incompetent, power brings nothing but ruin. This was somebody who wanted to wipe the chessboard clean and reset the pieces how they saw fit. And systematically, it would have been a better world because of it. This was somebody who even main characters were like, wait, he's cooking. And like a quote from another character was like basically, I can't let this keep going because they're spitting too hard. Like my heart might be swayed. And like it's absolutely insane to think about the depth, like the sheer development, and like the there's so much more to all of the moving pieces of the arc. And like Meruem is my top villain pick, but he's not even in my top 10 for characters that I absolutely love and ride and die for in Hunter x Hunter. It's just such a goated cast. but my absolute number one character in Hunter x Hunter is Komugi. And the entire dynamic of these two characters, I will not spoil it. You need to check it out if you haven't. It is actually probably the best full character arc and character interactions that I've seen in all of media. Not just anime, not just manga. This is, like, I think as close to the peak as it gets. And Meruem is a good chunk of that. But it's insane the amount of development that occurs in such a small amount of time. The fact that this person would have legitimately succeeded, and we kind of wanted them to. In my opinion, there has not been a better villain.
I accept. It's such a, like I said, for me, now that Lucas isn't here and we've all seen Hunter.
They
That's why
actually
we said,
have
like-
it. Josh and Dill have not seen it.
Okay, yeah, then I'll keep my thing to myself. I'll tell you another time on the call. But yeah, I think Meruem is for me, Meruem is the same problem. Since I put Cell, I didn't want to put Meruem because I just like Cell better, but I feel like it's not because they look so much alike. I do like I come into this world and I need to find my place type of storyline. Just I feel like I preferred how they did with Cell, but Meruem is a great pick.
Yeah, when homie was talking about a nameless king in a borrowed castle whose legion is a bunch of mindless drones, like, I was just like, yo, this is so deep. Like, the amount of conflict and overcoming that this character went through in their own mind, and like the dynamic that they had with another, just a normal person, just like, this was like somebody who was undefeatable by anyone else that we know in the entire verse, even still to this day, presumably the absolute peak of power. And for them to come to the conclusions that they came to and go through the transformation that they did because of the actions of a normal person, and for it to be as natural and as absolutely heartbreaking and heartwarming simultaneously as it was, peak. I don't think anyone's ever done it better. Togashi is a madman. I can't wait for more Hunter x Hunter chapters. We're getting them. We're getting like 19 more, folks. October is gonna be wild, but yeah, it's absolute peak. If you have not gotten into Hunter x Hunter, if this didn't sell you, I don't know what will. But it's insane. It's so goated. And that's all I got for my list. I went for a bunch of villains that I feel like you can agree with for the most part. Like a bunch of villains where you're like, are they really the villain at some point in the arc? And that's, I think, literally the best that it's ever been done. And Kube, did you already say your top one or no?
Yeah, it was a year.
Okay, yeah. So then we have a number 0 pick from Josh.
Oh yeah. So my number 0 doesn't really come from originally from manga or anime, but has adapted the part of his story. It's the Alpha and the Omega, Virgil himself, the son of Sparta.
Oh shit. Okay. This is the most Josh answer I've ever heard.
Number 3. The Visions of V manga just gives so much more context to what he was doing in Devil May Cry 5 and why he was fighting for what he was fighting. Like, why does he want so much power in the first? Like, I'm gonna give you a quote. Do you hate fighting your little brother? I actually like it. Then go and fight. Then go and fight. Give your foolhardy brother a good beating. You show him who's the strongest, isn't that right? All his motivation just comes down to this. And from this, I love every brother relationship I see in media. Like, if you have a good brother relationship, I'm gonna like the series. Just because Virgil is such a good character.
Yeah, I never got too deep into it. But it's definitely interesting, and I'll have to revisit it somehow. I don't think I have the means to play any much of the games, but I played through like 1 through 3.
Yeah, if you have the chance, maybe on TLA Gaming. Oh no, on TED Gaming.
We'll see. I'd be interested to revisit the franchise, but I didn't really know it went that deep, so I'll have to take your word for it. But as a number 0 pick, like that's it's a tall order. Like that's a huge role for you to lay it into. So I respect that. And then I think that Dill, you still have a number 1 pick. Is that correct?
Yeah, Dill only has
So I
one left.
do. And this goes without saying. My favorite villain of all manga, anime, it's the community. Y'all suck. I'm just kidding.
Oh, wow.
No, so most hated villain in terms of just what they've done and what they stand for and all that. It's a toss-up. You know, you gotta have father. Even though I've never watched Full Metal Alchemist.
That's crazy. You've never.
Which
oh
I
my-
know that you can relate to me saying that he is up there though.
Sure, but like this list has shown me that Dill needs to watch more anime and read more manga. Jeez.
And up there with him is Aizen, because yes, we don't get the backstory of it. Everything that we do get of him is villain.
For sure. I can respect Aizen being pretty high on the list. Top 1, I don't know, but like he was set up in a very, formative few years for me, like as just like the ultimate like string puller, the ultimate mastermind, somebody who was also basically trying to achieve like godhood and like through any means necessary, and like pulling wool over the eyes of an entire like 2 societies to get it done, and like making any sacrifices necessary. I was thinking of putting him on my list as well.
Now
really
you know
solid
why
pick.
I have him and father tied, because they kind of have the same motif, you know?
Yeah. No, I get it. Like I can respect them. Those are very widely accepted and solid villain takes. It's just crazy to me that you haven't seen Full Metal. I'm not gonna let that slide.
Hey, it's all right. I could have spoke on Miriam, but that's why I let you cook on him, because I know he is one of your favorite. Like out of not even just villains, out of characters in general, I know he's up there for you.
Dude, it's crazy because Meruem's not even in my actual top 10 for Hunter x Hunter alone, but like I do love him as like above pretty much every other villain. But like there's just so many goated characters that like he's like my honorable mention if somebody were to ask me a top 10 characters from Hunter x Hunter. But I 100% like I'm literally gonna just preface this by saying like, Dill, I know this applies to you, and that's why I'm saying it. If you have gotten to the age that Dill is, which I'm not gonna like dox your age right now, and you have not seen Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood or the 03 version or both, I don't know what decisions you're making in your life that have stopped you from viewing it. It's not like I'm not somebody who says that it's like the greatest, like a lot of people on my anime list and stuff like that. Like I think that that's kind of like an NPC answer, but I do think it is undeniably great, and you absolutely should watch it. It's like it's basically mandatory, like to the level of like Death Note and Attack on Titan, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So let me preface what Bex was saying by saying I am older than Full Metal Alchemist, but I have not watched it.
It's
That's
crazy
why
to me.
he's saying that.
It's actually crazy. Like that's wild to me. Like if it were Josh saying it, I guess I'd understand, but no. But wild. I think that finishes all of our lists.
Yeah.
It's been really interesting to hear a whole bunch of everybody's takes. I know I have a lot more on my list that I need to check out, and some things that have bumped up higher on the list. since before the stream happened. So I'm super glad it happened. I had a lot of fun spitting with all of you guys. Anything else anybody wants to say before we go ahead and close out and go to outros and everything?
No, I think everything was said. On my end, I'm
Hell
good.
yeah. Guys, keep an eye on the channel. We're going to be making community posts soon, talking about when the next content that we're going to be dropping here on the Eternal Dawn is. You can definitely count on Saturday. We're going to be streaming, talking about the latest and greatest chapter of One Piece once that drops. And then you can catch me at my channel, link in the description, next Tuesday, Group 2 Solos. You can also check out Straw Hat Lucas. His channel's in the description for his Rambling Addiction upcoming and his chapter reactions and reviews and whatnot. Support all of the homies, links in the description as part of the crew. We have been the Eternal Dawn, and we hope that you guys have also enjoyed and maybe thought about picking up a couple of these goated series during this stream. But y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. And Kube, what's the line?
We'll see you all in the